long time. That'll be exciting, but here comes the game, guys. It should load up any moment now. And here it is. Yep. All right, guys. So here is, as Maja subscribes, perfect timing. Welcome. We have Pilgrims for Game 3 of Regicide Rumble. With me is Reg22. If you're unfamiliar with this map, it is Pilgrims, and we have some of the best players in the world playing it. Many of them probably unfamiliar. You start on a very small island, and then you have to transport away to the mainland. Rez, I know it's impossible to go with predictions with this, but what are your thoughts going into this, as far as what players should do with transporting, what the mainland looks like, what the water looks like? Go right ahead.
Well, first off, I'll say thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. This is T90 Official, so we're on his Twitch page. If any of you watch this on my own page later, so it's twitch.tv/T90Official, and then he also has a YouTube channel as well. I'll put all that in the video description. So in terms of this particular match, this is one I'm really looking forward to because I've never really had the opportunity to cast such a high-level Pilgrims game. I've played Pilgrims many times and casted many Pilgrims games, but this is a very strange map, so seeing players of this caliber will be quite exciting. I think, though, that...
Do you see that? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Whereas land...
And they signaled the other way. They're lying. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No worries. In terms of predictions, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I feel like Back is probably the most prepared for this because he has, of course, participated in one of your T90 series. So my money is somewhat on him, but these players are all really good, and most of them haven't played this map or these settings, so I think it's quite difficult to predict.
Oh, man. I mean, right from the get-go, also on land, Stark and MBL landed at the same time, and Stark tried to wall MBL out. This is hilarious, but yeah, I mean, the very interesting thing about this is that Stark now knows where MBL is, and you want to have a safe position. Also, you can see that Viper is now running by Doubt, two of the best players in the world. On my screen, I have a Christmas mod, so my king is actually Santa Claus, and the deer are actually Rudolph, but... Player positions are so important in this res, and you'll see where the TCs are now going up. Stark is actually running into someone else now. I think the back of the map is actually really valuable because no one's going to find you there. But the question is, do you want to run by somebody? Who knows? But I see Viper, of all people, going to the very back of the map right now, which could be a smart decision.
Now, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is, of course, a Regicide free-for-all game with last man standing, so... Players are welcome, of course, to form alliances and hang out with each other, but at the end, only one of them can survive. Right now, we're seeing a lot of shenanigans. You should be really careful to not have your king walk underneath the town center. I do actually... Oh, God, this is so awful. Are you looking at Eddie right now?
What color is Eddie again?
Eddie is shooting at all of Stark's villagers.
Oh,
They're
my
walking
gosh.
right underneath the TC.
That's awful.
Well, one of these kings is really badly injured, actually. MVL's with only 22 HP, running right back into his town center to start healing up. In terms of Pilgrims, I kind of like it when you take your transport at the start and you build your town center on the mainland. I guess there are quite a few upsides to building it on the starting island because you get it up a lot sooner and you get to start taking advantage of those free resources. But I feel like that town center just becomes dead weight in the late game once ships start coming out. And really the most valuable points are, like you said, the main island.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to just touch on this. Right away, I can see which players have prepared and which have not prepared, because Bullet just said, WTF, where's the mainland? And he has not even scouted the mainland. He just has now, as he sees a Box King run by. And then we also have people TCing the starting islands, and Stark is running all over creation with his villagers. So people are definitely struggling, and it's hilarious because they're some of the best players in the world. Now, as far as player positions are concerned, that's important, but also who they ally, and if they will ally, that's important, because this is Diplo as well. And being last man standing, I find it very interesting. Who will turn? When will they turn? And also, what are the civs? So that's something we haven't touched on yet, Rez, so why don't you touch on that if you wouldn't mind?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. So in the blue, we have Tato playing as the Goths, and then Bullet will be playing as the purple Aztecs, the Viper as the green Mongols, MBL as the gray Byzantines, Backed as the Koreans, Doubt as the Celts, Eddie as the red Mayans, and Stark also as the Koreans. So we actually have two of these. I've learned to fear the Goths in these type of like free-for-all games. In the late stages, they can just really, really overwhelm you. And I think we have a fairly wide variety of civs, but notably there aren't really that many strong water civs in this rotation.
Okay, something to point out. Bullet, because he has his TC on the mainland, or sorry, the starting island, he placed a lumber camp, and he was trying to wall it off so Box couldn't do anything, but Box put his Santa Claus, or king, in the way, and at the same time, Eddie is transporting his king. What is happening?
I have absolutely no idea what's going on. There's just a massive villager fight. This wall will not go up, and Eddie just wants to get by, but he's going to walk straight into a town center if he's not careful.
At the same time, Doubtla hitting the feudal age, he's sitting pretty, and Bach is still sitting his king there just to stop this wall from going up. Bullet doesn't have a wood line. This is hilarious. This is messier than any Pilgrims game I've ever seen, and these are some of the best players in the world.
And at some point, poor Bullet is going to run out of trees on his starting island. One quick thing I wanted to touch on during all the chaos. So we see that the Viper is playing really, really defensively. This is pretty greedy. He walked all the way to the corner of the map where he's extremely safe, but that did slow him down in the beginning. What do you think of the Viper's decision to go all the way to the back?
Well, there's a plus side to this, and there's also a downside. He ran by 2 players, and at this level, players are going to remember things like that. So having run that direction, Doubt's going to know that. I want to see, and probably Tato as well, I want to see the alliances that may be set up. Yeah, Viper and Doubt are actually allied right now, and that's the only alliance that Doubt has, even though he knows Tato is there. So he knows Viper's there, he has allied him, but he could easily kill him if he wanted to. Saying that, Viper... Do you know where Viper's king is? Am I missing it?
That I have to look around for. Doubt, by the way, with a really, really fast feudal time. Where is that king? It might be sitting in a transport somewhere, but that would be a little too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking back at the... Yeah, please do. I was looking...
Oh, there it is. It's actually... It's near his mill that he's building. Do
oh,
you see that?
I see. Okay.
He's building a mill that's pretty far from his base.
All right.
Going for some deer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't trapped somewhere. But yeah, the point remains, it's a good decision for Viper, but he will have nowhere to run if he does get attacked. So that'll be a problem. Everybody else that has been fighting in the Feudal Age or Dark Age for some players, they're way behind at this point. It's hard to rebound from that, and there's a lot of wood on this Pilgrims map. I mean, before, I feel like there was more space, but this is just very clumped up, and you have to favor, I think, civilizations who have good ranged units then, because they can sit in those choke points later in the game.
I'm definitely going to have to agree with you here. I feel like this Pilgrims map is a little bit strange. Normally, the mainland is kind of in the shape of a heart, and it's almost like we're missing a chunk of the island that should be on the sort of like left top area. So this is going to force players to be a little bit more aggressive, or at least competitive for their space. The Viper does have just such a nice little area with the way that the trees are set up. He only has to worry about only the front of his base, and he actually has so much gold, stone in there, a lot of resources. Same time, Stark has his own little area as well, but his town center is not on the mainland, so he's going to have to figure out how to get there. Doubt with a very respectable castle age timing, by the way.
Yeah, I see that, and while the spec dashboard is not working for me, I did notice he was on his way to the castle age. I also noticed how aggressive Bakht is being with his king, and normally you don't want to use your king to be aggressive, but he has denied another household from MBL by using his king, and pushed MBL away because MBL did not have loom. All of these players, though, are quite cramped. You'll see that Bakht he has nowhere to run when he's walled off. Eddie's also pretty cramped to the left of that, and then above that is MBL, who's also pretty cramped. So those players, all the players on the right, I think, are at a disadvantage because of the space, and Tato, Bakht, and Viper seem to be in a better position on the other side. And I'd like to remind the viewers that this is for $130, so money is on the line here, not just pride. And I'm just still so amazed at how funny this has been.
Yeah, this is a messy situation to say the least. It really looks like a, just MC Escher painting or something like that, with all the walls just dotted all around the coastline in this area. All these poor souls are going to have a very difficult time escaping, and my heart goes out to all the players with their trapped kings. At some point, those are going to be right for the picking for some watchtowers and whatnot, and speak of the devil, here comes Bullet with the first few watchtowers of the game, littering the coastline with them, which will zone backed off one of his golds. And slowly and steadily, he might end up getting boxed into this corner, and he could lose his king really early.
Oh man, this is depressing to see. I mean, he has nowhere to go, and he's trying to get to the castle edge, but he can't even go to the left. So players usually at this level, like, they won't appeal in the chat and say, hey, please help me, and things like that. Maybe Bacht will have to do that, because this Trush from Bullet is actually gonna keep him suffocated. And the walls, stone walls on the left from Eddie are going to keep him trapped as well. He has nowhere to go. No gold, a little bit of stone. This is going to suck.
What an absolute disaster for them. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, we have Doubt into the Castle Age, of course, and he has a Mangonel. Looks like he's getting ready to apply some pressure to Tato, who's defending himself preemptively with 2 watchtowers, which will keep him alive because he put a couple extra villagers in there so they fire additional arrows, otherwise they'll never be able to kill that Mangonel. Tato also actually in the Castle Age, so I think he will survive this. Going to put down a stable, perhaps make a knight to defend himself, because repairing this watchtower will be costly. In the meanwhile, I don't think we've seen too much in the realm of galley harassments, it doesn't look like. And poor Bacht, he's taking a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he really is. He's going for defensive towers now, but regardless, he could win this Trush War, if you can call it that. He's not going to be a favorite for this one. I mean, just look at his score, and the same goes for all the players who are trapped here. Now, MBL has actually cut himself out to the left of his TC. That's interesting to note because there's a lot of resources there, so I don't know if he was going for that, but good bit of luck. Now, I want to also touch on the fact that Doubt is actually in a position that I wouldn't like if I were him. We see that there's a counter siege workshop from Tato, and also some knights coming out to go for this Mangonel. All the gold that Doubt would want is in between he and Tato. He cannot access that comfortably, and there's also one next to where Tato has his king now. So he's actually not able to access gold and will have to sell resources, which is never ideal.
That's a very good point there, T90, as both these, really his gold is not safe at all. And in a situation like this, where he's in a Mangonel war and he would like to be able to produce more Mangonels, that's really quite unfortunate for him. Whereas Tato's gold is actually quite safe. Constantly having to repair this Mangonel, of course, just to conserve some wood and gold. Eddie actually has a castle that he will drop on MBL's TC on the mainland. So it's a really good thing that he escaped when he did.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
things would be quite awkward. And I expect the Plumed Archers to come out soon. And look at Bullet also dropping a castle on Bacht. He's serious.
Oh man, and Bacht cannot cut his way out of here. I mean, he has a long way to go,
man.
so he needs to appeal for help. Maybe Bacht was hoping to get to the Castle Age by selling some resources and go with his own castle, but it's going to be too late. He's trapped. It's like a force nothing game for Bacht right now. He needs to cut and get out. And is he going to attack the market with villagers? He is.
That he is, and there is no sappers, of course, in the feudal age, unfortunately, so this is going to be a while, folks. I would like to see, I think, like, a galley from one of these players or a fire ship, and it looks like Eddie has exactly the same idea. Pick off all those fishing ships, be the bully that you need to be. I think, though, that even though that Bacht kind of has to do this, he is certainly in an awful situation, as where is his king going to go after this? He's going to go straight into either that castle or that town center. Does he even know those are there? I think so, right?
No, he knows the town center is there. But now this is bad, because Eddie will know that there's a king right there. And Eddie says, GG Bacht, and oh no, Bacht run away! He's trying! He's trying! Oh man, now interesting that Eddie actually opened up a hole in the wall, but still, there's nothing that he can do. Poor Bacht, I think we just have to kind of let him die and then look at the rest, and he says really not fair. I feel bad for Bacht, he's one of the nicest guys in the game, but this is exactly what the settings give you, Rez.
Yeah, that they do, especially this map generation. He just ended up in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, and there's really no way he can escape out of this unless, he makes some friends in this game. My 4v1 me. In the meantime, oh gosh, MBL actually made a pretty cool play. So he needed to get out of this situation because right now Eddie is swinging in from the right side. So he needed to get his king and his base out of there, and he actually did manage to escape. He's pulling off a pretty nice boom. He put his king in a transport ship, and he actually sent it all the way to the left side of the island where it's sitting inside this town center that I don't think anyone knows about yet. Although Tato may have seen that with his own outpost, and now Tato going to run away with his own king, taking a lot of pressure from Doubt because Doubt's got that castle down.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a bit of a bad position for Tato now because Doubt was able to hold him off, and now with that castle there, Doubt can finally get gold, and make no mistake about it, that is a classy play from Doubt. He is just now getting access to gold. He has not collected gold this game, I believe. Actually, no, I'm sorry, there is gold on that starting island, so he was collecting with 2 villagers, but still not a lot. And a lot of pressure now on Tato because he's trapped, and his king is right there. Vipers to the left as well. Alliances might be important for all these players involved.
Especially if you're backed. He's really going to need a friend in a situation like this. Bullet moving in with a monk, perhaps to do some harassment with some conversions, and well, we're seeing a little bit of skirmishing on the water. Players going around with various fire ships. Eddie looking for an opportunity to do some raiding and some sniping with these plumed archers, and he might be able to pick off some of Tato's stone miners if he decides to.
Yeah,
Bex says he will sling now.
He's gonna sling Viper? Oh, come on. He's gonna talk to Viper now. I mean, credit to Bach, he could have resigned. I would have resigned by now, so very, very nice thinking. I want to talk a little bit about the other players we haven't talked about. Stark, look at his score, and I think the one thing that's really helping him is the 20 fishing ships, and we haven't talked about the fishing ships because nobody's really fighting for water that much. And he has the fishing ships in the bottom corner, and there's just fish for days down there, Rez. So he's Korean, sorry, and 3 TCs. He'll want to loop around to get gold sometime, but that's a pretty good position for him, in my opinion.
That it is. The fish is actually very, very valuable on Pilgrims. Players usually make an absurd amount of fishing ships. It's just all over the place. And it's great fish marlin, too, so quite valuable. That's why I find it interesting that no one's really making that many fire ships to just kind of punish all the fish booming. We are seeing a couple of them floating around, but really not that much. These players have huge economies, and we look at Stark, you know, he has almost no farms at all because he has so many fishing ships he can just afford to get away with that. Meanwhile, Eddie doing some raiding. Does have to be careful not to run into that castle, and he will get out of there. All these mangonel shots missing. Another mangonel sweeping around, but I do think that Eddie will get out of here just fine.
Yeah, he does no defense upgrades, but with the speed there and no attack round from Doubt, I think he'll be okay. Bacht is going to try and run through the TC, through the plumed archers, and through the castle. The king's the only important thing here. But if he can escape with 1 villager, I'll be so surprised. Eddie's garrisoning now. The king needs to survive. He has to get through somehow. There's a castle, another castle from Bullet, by the way, which is why he's running. Bacht is going for it, guys. And he has escaped with a few vills. Oh, man. This is so hard to see.
Will Eddie be a bully, or will he let him live? That is the question, and it looks like right now he's leaning towards being a bit of a bully.
Yeah, he's leaning hard that direction because he's not letting anything survive. But he wants those resources. Apparently, I don't know why. I think mainly he sees Bacht as a threat, and now Stark's going to communicate a bit as the king's actually going to survive.
Oh, he might actually be letting him go, sort of, or not really paying that close attention.
I think it was a mistake.
Center, oh,
yeah.
No, all right.
Finally,
Hey,
Merry Christmas, and down goes Santa Claus. So the game continues, and I'm gonna toggle through because again, I don't have overlay. Stark's actually on the way to Imperial now. In the Imperial Age, I still am struggling to see where Stark has gold. Or a lot of it, but Koreans are so strong. So, what are your thoughts with Stark being pretty much untouched on land? What do you think we could be seeing from Stark against, I guess the closest player being Eddie and maybe Bullet, and they're both Mesosivs, Aztecs and Mayans.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think at least in the meantime, opening up with some sort of heavy siege or perhaps war wagon comp could be really punishing for Eddie. The Koreans are such a strong late-game civilization due to their very powerful siege line, expensive units, and they just have a kind of massive death ball. At this stage of the game, we don't usually see... It's a little too early for Elite Eagle Warriors, of course, because Eddie is not imp yet, and he's not actually researching it. The Viper, MBL, and Stark are all researching it simultaneously. Eddie going for Bodkin Arrow, so we'll have to see what we can expect from Stark, but I expect some sort of like heavy siege comp, I think, would be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree, and also ranged units wouldn't be too bad. Normally war wagons are really expensive, but if he can get war wagons, that wouldn't be too bad because of all the choke points. Now, I want to point out Tato actually has dropped the castle on MBL's sneaky base that we thought no one knew about, and MBL actually could be at risk to lose some of his resources, so He's aware of that, and he's gonna try and wall up a bit there. As
the really funny
everybody's
thing
raiding.
here, oh, yeah, that they are. I mean, there are a lot of funny things going on right now, but one of the things I've noticed is that poor MBL, his base is split in two. And this would normally not be so bad of a thing, except the base that really matters is the one with the king in it, and that's the one that is in danger right now. So the question is, will MBL end up putting his king inside a transport ship and trying to get away? Because he could run the risk of walking straight into Bullet's navy.
Yeah, it's true, and I'm gonna toggle through all the players if I have the time and look at alliances. There's not many. Doubt is allied with Viper, Viper's allied with Doubt and Stark. Then Stark is allied with just Viper. I mean, there's not many alliances. Actually, as the Imperial Age technologies come in, I'm not going to go through all of them for you, but it's pretty crazy how they don't think to go for many alliances, and that means anybody can really win this one.
That is indeed the case, although things are looking bad for Tato, as he is getting pressured simultaneously by both the Viper and Doubt. Not that many alliances this game. These players are content to basically go through the game alone. The Viper has kind of reached critical mass, allowed to build up relatively safely, only getting pressured a bit by some of Tato's rams earlier. He's got Mangadai, he will be grabbing all the upgrades for those. Doubt going for some Woad Raiders. Tato is surrounded, but at least he's pressuring MBL.
Yeah, and the bad thing for Tato is, while he's surrounded and he has pressured MBL a little bit, he's only at 65 population, and he doesn't have anything to push back an Imperial Age army. I mean, as Goss, sometimes you can push back Mangadai, but in the Castle Age even, he can't do that. He doesn't have the food. It's going to be rough for him. And Doubt and Viper are going to be potentially next to one another with fully boomed economies if Viper can help Doubt out a little bit. I think Eddie's causing him a lot of problems with the plumed archers on the right next to that stone.
Yeah, that he is, but their one saving grace, though, is that Eddie is nowhere near the Imperial Age. Still hasn't started researching it yet. Doubt actually just clicked up to the Imperial Age, so he will get there in a couple of minutes. Okay, there we go. Eddie advancing now. Eddie does have to be careful not to lose all of his plumed archers here, but it looks like they're all going to die.
Oh man, just absolutely flattened. And communication now as well. I want to see who is talking to one another. Viper allied with Eddie, which is interesting because Viper seems to be allied with a lot of people now.
How to make allies and shit, says Bullet.
He doesn't even know. Oh man, so obviously he doesn't have any allies. This is so very difficult to follow. I mean, at this level, they move so fast. We try and talk about small advantages, but it's just changing all the time. And I really don't know what to say. I think it's safe to say that Tato is sandwiched. And everybody else certainly has a shot at this right now.
That they do. I think in these big free-for-all diplomacy games, the things you have to consider are how exactly are you going to win the game? At this point, I think that Tato is not quite strong enough to be a threat to win at this point in time, so I feel like it makes sense to perhaps ally with him, get him on his, get him on your good side. That way maybe you can close out the game later if you think you're able to defeat him. But I always look at, players like Bullet right now has a very sizable score. Stark has been allowed to just boom up the entire game, and he's got onagers. Siege onager actually about 50% done researching. And is the game frozen?
Yeah, it's paused at the moment, so they're...
Okay.
Probably Bullet is asking, hey, how do I form an alliance with somebody? That's most likely what's happening.
How do I make friends?
Exactly. He's like, wait a second. Where on the menu? I've never done this before. I've played like 5,000 games and never once tried this. But... yeah, you're definitely right. Siege Onager's coming in. That'll be interesting because Stark is allied with Eddie, but let's assume he's going to have the change in him at some point, which he will. Siege Onagers versus Plumed Archers, very, very good. I feel like Mayans is a good choice in the early game, but a poor choice in the late game, especially if the good late game civs have time, and Stark actually has. So it's been kind of clumped for him, and he doesn't have a lot of gold. He's had enough so far to push out into the middle. I'm gonna make sure I'm not receiving any messages. Please let me know if the game... oh, it's back. Haha.
All right. And we're back into it. I have to completely agree with you here. I really don't like the Mayans that much in these free-for-all games. Like you said, they're very strong early on. They've got the discounted archers, such a strong economy. It's just that after the early Imperial Age with that elite E-Warrior spike and the elite plumed archers, in the later stages of the game, they just don't have enough like powerful units to leverage. No paladins. Critically, their siege line not so great. Missing siege engineers, siege auditors are really going to slow them down. Whereas you have to definitely fear civilizations like the Celts and Koreans in the late game. They've got some really scary siege and powerful units.
Well, speaking of siege and good siege civilizations, Celts, Doubt pushing in against Tato, and to be honest, Tato all alone on this side. Viper's also allied with Doubt, so I don't think Doubt's too worried. He's getting Elite Woad Raider, probably Captor Ram as well. Tato just saying, who wants all my resources? I think he knows he's finished.
Yeah, I think unfortunately he is out of the game. Nowhere left to run. In the meantime, Doubt grabbing that Elite Woad Raider upgrade, snagging that Captor Ram as well. Viper going for Bloodline, so we're about to see some very, very heavily upgraded units. The Viper almost with fully upgraded Mangadai, just missing chemistry and some of his archer armors. So right now, we got quite a few powerful players left in the game. Eddie's still a little bit behind everyone else, but I'm curious to see what he'll actually go for as the Mayans at this point. He's grabbing Elite Plumed Archer.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for him with all the choke points. I think because he's going to be up against siege units now. So if onagers come out, or especially siege onagers, and he's like walled off where MBL is walled, he can't do anything, and he's just going to be stalled. So his strength really comes in the agility of the plumed archers and how cheap they are, and he's probably hoping he could snipe some kings, but once the big researchers come in, he's going to struggle. Tato, speaking of which, is now struggling, and Rez, I think he will be the next one to go down.
It looks like it indeed. Is his king inside that town center?
It's actually to the left of the houses there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Oh, poor guy. His one saving grace is that there are no ranged units to take that down, but that will inevitably die off. Viper snagging all the remaining upgrades for Elite Mangadai. And it looks like Tato will indeed resign, not giving anybody the dignity of taking him out of the game.
I don't know if you caught any of that conversation. I paged up. Tato is saying, there's gold on my island.
Ooh.
Exit, says Bullet. Bullet ally me, says Stark. So they're finally communicating, and they're trying to team up. So it seems like Tato, with his dying breath, is trying to help others out, and he does not want Doubt, and probably Viper, to win this. And Viper, I believe, is pushing out with Mangadai. And Trebs, yes, he is. And he's going after MBL, his Norwegian friend.
Yes. I like this strategy. Makes things a little bit more interesting. Salt the earth as you resign.
Yep.
This could be quite... Oh, this could be quite entertaining. Poor MBL is going to take a lot of pressure from this trebuchets. He does not have an easy answer to this at all, and in fact, he's probably just going to forfeit this castle, stonewalling off the back of it. Looks like he's considering going for Elite Cataphracts. These are a very strong unit in the late game, but I feel like they don't match up very well at all for the Mangadai.
Yeah, this is so incredibly awkward. If you look to the right of where that castle is about to go down, MBL is in a bit of a treb war with Bullet, and neither of these guys get Siege Onager, and this is standard AOC, so Onager doesn't cut. You can just see they are just trying to either cut the trees or attack one another, and MBL is in this little bubble of space being attacked by Trebs and now Mangadai about to come in.
So the question is to me, is if this game boils down to the Viper and Doubt having to fight each other, who does it favor? On one hand, like Doubt has way more map control, I guess, because the Viper's kind of boxed into the corner. But at the same time, because Doubt's on the outside, he's the one taking all the economic damage. He's the one losing all the villagers, and perhaps that's going to waste a lot of his resources in the long run, so that's something you have to keep our eyes on. It just sucks to be someone like MVL, where you're sandwiched between two very threatening players.
So something to point out, obviously a lot of these players were unprepared, and I've done a lot of like 1v1 T90 series events, and I've experienced that an awful lot, even if I had the settings in black and white. So I did say it was hidden pick. I don't know if they picked their civilizations. I feel like a lot of these picks, players at this level would not choose. It kind of seems random to me, but Stark, with his civilization, will now cut himself some space, and maybe he's cutting to that market a Bullet to trade a little bit for the late game?
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like the players who are taking advantage of this, especially because we were talking about earlier about, even though Stark has been left untouched, and that would make him normally incredibly threatening, as a fully boomed Koreans player who hasn't wasted any money, in these free-for-all games, you always have to consider how much money these players actually have to spend in the long run, because if they're drained, they're not able to actually make the units to defend themselves, and they'll lose at just the last minute. So Stark needs that gold. He has a monk with the relic. He needs to set up a trade line. It's going to be a weak one, but one I think will help regardless.
Yeah, the trouble for Stark is he didn't have a lot of gold to put into trade, and that's the unfortunate thing. Viper in that corner, I mean, he has a lot of mining camps, and of course now he has space because he's allied with Doubt, and it looks like MBL is being pressured on all fronts. Doubt is pushing in with just a perfect unit composition. Siege Onager now, look at the time, 45 minutes, and he has almost every technology in for Celts that he would want. And now MBL, of course, still being pressured in the middle by Trebuchets. Not looking good for him on either front.
And the only technology he is missing is chemistry, and that is just about to research, grabbing that iron casting as well. Poor MBL really just hasn't had an opportunity yet to get full upgrades for his elite cataphracts, so he's really not able to take full advantage of them. I do think the elite cataphracts are very strong versus the Celts army, but he just doesn't get to take advantage of that here. He did mop up those elite Woad Raiders, though, on the top side. He's probably going to lose all of his guys to some Onagers. In the meantime, it looks like Bullet transitioning into some of those Aztec pikemen.
Yeah, not the best when Mangadai and Woad Raiders are out, but I think it's due to lack of space, lack of resources. Now, I feel like this is transitioning towards a 3v2. MBL is being hung out to dry. Everybody's attacking MBL. We have Doubt and Viper, obviously on the same team, doing a great job, and then, of course, we have the three others, Bullet, Stark, and Eddie, and they all seem to be communicating and on the same team. So we might see a 3v2. I feel like the three have the worst civilizations, if you exclude the Koreans, and they're obviously not the top two players either, so this is going to be eventful.
Oh, that it will be. Stark might have a really, really colossal score, but... Okay, he does have a decent amount of resources saved in the bank. He hasn't really had to spend anything at all this game, so we'll have to see how much that actually matters. He is getting his Korean unique technology now. Snagging Bracer, he's just content to sit back and relax, while meanwhile everyone ganging up on poor MBL.
I feel bad for him, but you know, again, just like Bakht was in a feudal age situation earlier, he is really holding on, and he's not doing a bad job either. Again, at this point, I would expect most players to resign, but really happy to see that the players are really fighting it out. To the right of MBL's base in the middle, you will see the king from Bullet is being escorted by Eddie's army.
No.
I don't know why it's there, but he doesn't really have much control on the mainland, just some lumber camps and one TC, so he has to be careful with that thing.
I think it's great that Bullet and Eddie are actually on the same team, because they're certainly going to have to work together to take on the rest of these juggernauts. But right now, what MBL needs the most is a friend, and plate guarding armor will not quite be it. He will be able to hold the line, though, with some nice Byzantine bombard towers, bombard cannons. Just hang out in here. It looks like Doubt has actually let up on the pressure, and we'll have to see where these players attack next.
Well, Destroyer, that was quite a prize pool donation, so thank you for that, man. I'll talk to you about that, because I'm going to do a second Regicide Rumble, so maybe it's best, since this is already confirmed, to do it for the next event. That way we are able to do that. But anyway, continuing on, Elite Scorpion, gosh. Heavy Scorpion. Yeah, I mean, Heavy Elite Scorpion. It's the next unit, guys. Get ready for it. But Heavy Scorpion now in for Doubt. Pretty much full siege units at the top against MBL. And I hear ships from Stark, so interesting that he's now going Navy and cannon galleons on water.
Well, I suppose that's one way for him to kind of apply a lot of pressure on these players and conserve resources simultaneously. Because really right now, he's just playing the long game. He's trying to be as greedy as possible. Let all the other players do the dirty work while he kicks back, relaxes, stockpiles infinite amounts of resources. And MBL just kind of boxed in the middle awkwardly, surrounded by all of his towers. Bullet does have quite a large navy, but this is an Aztec navy, so it's actually quite crappy. They are one of the, are they the only city in the game that does not get galleons?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to get that, maybe. I saw he had those around earlier, next to the starting islands. I'm not sure why he continued with them, but probably just to be a little bit more micro-intensive and maybe to snipe some kings if he found them, but it's not going to work out in the long run. And I want to point something else out. Sorry. You were talking about resources. Look at Viper's resources. 9k gold, and 9k wood, 3k food. I mean, he's set for a long time here.
Oh wow, that he is. And I think it's really, really great that he's been so, mindful of actually conserving all of those. At this point in the game, though, I think he's in a really good position. I look at him, Doubt, and I look at Stark. I feel like Bullet might be not in that great of a position, considering his Civ choice. He doesn't actually have that many.
They're all going in to kill MBL, I think.
All at the same time?
Bullet just went in to kill the transport. And
absolute disaster.
And now MBL's trying to run to the right side. Everybody's teaming up versus MBL. Eddie said MBL is not with Tyrant. And now there's Scorpions on the right from Down. I feel bad for MBL. He has no escape.
Stark says fuck MBL.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, but the king has survived. He can do it. He can survive. I believe in you, Santa. Oh man.
All is not lost. There you go.
What? So close, yeah. I mean, on my screen it's Santa Claus Res. I know you're showing this to your viewers. I have a mod, so it's Santa because it's around Christmas time, so I don't want to confuse your viewers. But he's somehow the Mad Dash made it back to his original base, which is in the middle of everything. But that's insane. I honestly cannot believe he made it. But obviously, those units not having ballistics really helped out. Holy cow.
Always get ballistics in these free-for-all Regicide games. You need to be able to snipe that king on the run, otherwise all your projectiles will miss. Can't believe that king escaped there, but the king is, for some reason in Age of Empires 2, comically fast despite being very fat, and also has a remarkably good line of sight.
Yep. It's experience. It's experience. He's older than everybody else. He knows what to do. Speaking of experience, Viper and Doubt pretty much leading the way, except for Stark, who I haven't seen do much yet. I want to see a betrayal at some point, like a really good betrayal. And Viper has Mangadai, and it wouldn't be such a bad idea with Viper having all the resources and Doubt collecting all these resources with a lot of map control for Viper to try and snipe. You could sit right underneath the castle and treb it down. So both players are going to have to pay attention. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I think that obviously one of the main threats in this game is going to be Doubt. I would say he's probably the strongest player in this match currently. And you're the Viper, so you're on the same team with him. And this gives you a good opportunity to just, park some units in his base under the guise of perhaps protection and try and snipe that king and take him out of the game. Because otherwise, at this stage in the game, I fear that if the Viper doesn't actually end up sniping Doubt, that Doubt might be able to take him down later on.
Oh yeah, I agree. With all the technologies he has, I mean, I can make an argument for either player, but I just can't help but laugh at MBL being in the middle of everybody, and you know what? He's like, I'm not going down without a fight. I don't care. I'm just gonna annoy you as much as possible if you want to be that way. And annoying he is being, really. He's doing a great job. This is good play from him.
Oh yeah. At this point, his job is to waste as much resources as possible from as many players, and really I feel like Bullet doesn't actually have that much presence on the mainland. A combination of him just not having like strong units, he's only really able to field out trash units, and I think Eddie doesn't have that much presence as well. So really, it's just going to boil down to, I think, these three players. It's going to be Doubt, our Celts player, the Viper, our Mongols player, facing off against Stark, the Koreans player. But once they remove all the players from the middle, I feel like it's going to be interesting to see if the Viper and Doubt immediately turn on each other.
Yeah. Stark, keep in mind, Stark has been trading, and so has Eddie, with Bullet. So there's still the 3v2 situation if they don't turn, and Viper does not have trade, as far as I know. He probably is not wanting to waste his population space with trade because he has all those resources. So, I mean, while that makes sense, over time, it'll be difficult. Real quick, Mothump, thank you so much for the sub, man. Welcome to the T90 Elite, but, oh man, the push at MBL's base. Can the king get away this time?
I'm gonna say probably not. I don't really think he has anywhere to run. He's just caught between a rock and a hard place. There will be no escape for him, even though he has actually... There is a hole. One of these players has indeed cut him an exit, but everywhere he runs will be an absolute disaster. Will this king escape?
I lost sight of it. Okay, it's in that bombard
I
tower.
don't know where it is.
Yeah, it's in that bombard tower now, and the king's gonna...
Oh, there it goes.
It's gonna run away. I guess it could make it through? No, there's some plumed archers on stand ground, so it's gonna be rough for him. Oh, he's running to the left now, and he could run into
he can go the
Viper's
way.
base? Past the cannon galleons again?
I mean, these cannon galleons, they're not Spanish cannon galleons, so they have pretty slow projectiles. And it looks like MBL just gonna stall for time.
Yeah, I believe he's trying to distract with his villagers. He has to be careful with that, with that king. I mean, that's his livelihood right there. This is funny.
Man.
But look at the death ball in the middle from Doubt and Viper.
That is really scary. Another interesting thing to note is that the Viper actually has a reasonably good civilization for the ultra late game, mostly because the Elite Mangadai unique unit actually has an attack bonus versus all siege weapons. We expect to see quite a few siege weapons from both the Koreans and the Celt players, the two players who are we expect to be some of the remaining players in the game. It will take some very good micro though, some solid siege under shots. Heavy Scorpions, if the Halbs actually get up to you, then those Elite Mangadai will indeed disintegrate. But we can't count out the other players. I feel like Eddie and Bullet and Stark have been trading quite a bit. So combined, maybe they can take down one of these juggernauts.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I don't know if they will have the time, though. I mean, there's just so much here. MBL, of course, was going to go out. I found it interesting that Viper actually built a dock. It may have been destroyed now, but there's a dock right on the crossing where the turtle ships are, and he actually blocked MBL from escaping. But I don't know if there's going to be enough time, and Stark really needs some siege onagers here. Needs the Korean range, and the team bonus does not apply to Diplo situations, so it's only going to be...
thank God.
Yeah, it's only going to be him that his team is depending on right now.
GG in
And really,
advance,
Stark just
everyone.
doesn't have
Letting
actually
Viper
that
boom
much of
with
a
man
military
good eye is
population
madness.
in general. His military is actually only 23, which is, around a third the size of almost everyone else's. The Viper sitting at 46, Bullet at 56, Doubt at 66, and Eddie at about 60. So, really, Stark just has an absolutely colossal economy. I'm assuming just because he wants to stockpile so much gold with his trade carts. Look at that awful trade line getting blocked on that monastery.
It was just a really, if you think back, Stark had a really hard time settling down, and combine that with the fact he didn't have any gold next to his starting TCs, while Viper and Doubt they did. And then you combine the 2v1 situation, combine the fact, oh man, the skirmisher's getting flattened, that there were no real good civilizations to team with Stark. I'm waiting for some type of betrayal because I feel like that's on the cards at some point. One player has to win, but this is certainly looking rough for Stark at the moment.
Well, it looks like these players are indeed researching treason to reveal the location of everyone's kings. We have two kings on the bottom side and then a king on the left side of the map.
Wow.
This is quite a...
But do you see Viper's king? The left
not sure
corner.
where I caught that.
The left corner.
Oh, yeah.
It's the perfect spot.
Nice. Yeah, and he even has a gate there with the natural terrain, 3 castles blocking it. I feel like the Viper is in a really good position. He just has to be very concerned about his next-door neighbor who's looking mighty scary. I just took a look at Stark's resource count, and unfortunately for him, one of the reasons why his military count is so low is that he just has no gold in the bank. You would think that a late-game Koreans that was in the corner completely untouched would be the scariest civ on the map, but the way the map was set up, he just didn't have access to safe gold, and their trade line was pretty weak. They did actually delete a couple buildings to improve that. Unfortunately, Stark had to delete his monastery containing his one relic, and now he's going to cover his base from the Bard Towers. Prep for the long game. This will improve his gold income.
Yeah. He just needs to protect, and just hope, really, that somebody else can do something. And maybe that something is Viper and Doubt themselves. Maybe if Doubt and Viper turn, that'll actually give him some more time to trade, because keep in mind, nobody else is trading. I looked back at Doubt's base. He actually was creating siege workshops right next to Viper's stables, so maybe he's thinking about cutting, but Viper really is set to defend this, especially with stables there. He can prepare himself to make hussars and pick off any mighty siege units.
That he can. Yes. And right now we see Eddie and Bullet trying to defend with a bunch of elite skirmishers. This is obviously not going to be enough to hold the line, but the crucial thing here is that they get these players to waste resources. Might be able to pick off some of the Viper's elite Mangudai, which will be very costly for him in the long run, and the Viper actually just gonna pull out and ignore that elite skirmisher army, and they're just gonna go straight to the right side, do as much damage as possible while avoiding as many losses.
They have pushed from the west side, and they're going to the complete east side of the map. This is really impressive, and it doesn't look like they're going to be stopped at the moment. I don't know if Stark has a response for this with siege onagers. Maybe he's going to fire over top this wood line where the halberdiers and the elite Mangudai are, but I don't know if that will be enough. It's basically just a hold right now.
Holy shit, T90. Stark has over 50,000 wood in the bank.
What?
And he only has 300 gold. It just goes to show that the map was not really set up in his favor.
Yeah.
But I can't help but shake the feeling that a market and just shift-clicking that sell wood button
Exactly.
would indeed help him quite a bit. He's producing a couple of galleons. We actually see... You see there's this trade cost.
Yeah, I actually am just now seeing that. That's an interesting... So he's trading an awful lot then. Unfortunately, my dashboard doesn't have the trade units, but that means he's trading on land and on water. So again, if he has time, maybe it'll pay off. But sell that wood, man. Sell that wood. And oh man, Bullet is losing all his skirmishers on the front to Doubt.
Meanwhile, Eddie trying to do some raiding with elite plumed archers, trying to sneak into the Viper's eco, but he's got to walk through. He's got to walk through so many castles to do that.
Yeah.
He might be able to do some damage, but I feel like the Viper just has a very well laid out base, and he will be able to pick this off with hussars.
I often wonder how on edge players get, and I know they don't get on edge, which really bothers me because I'd be freaking out. Like Viper and Doubt are right next to one another, and especially Doubt, if you look at where he has his king, he has siege onagers there now. Viper could easily run in there with Mongol siege rams and snipe, but Doubt is just cool and calm and collected, probably checking every other second because he's so good, and he just doesn't care. And let's see what happens here, as it looks like Viper has gone to the left with Doubt, and they're not wanting to go anywhere near the army on the right, where Stark did have some siege onagers.
Indeed. I mean, I've got to admire the Viper's incredibly greedy strategy, just walking all the way to the corner of the map so very early on. He's playing the long game from minute one, just to sit all the way in the back, where no one's going to touch him. And then eventually, he's only going to have to deal with his next door neighbor. The question is, later on, will he be able to do that? Stark is, fixing up his economy. He's got so many trade units at this point. And it's going to be a 3-on-2 situation. Trash plus Koreans. Will it be enough to hold the line?
Well, it's still a 3v2 situation, and it looks like Viper and Doubt are kind of stalling at the moment. Like, they're not really pushing in. Red has a lot of skirms from Bullet. They can go down in an instant, but they haven't been pushed back that much. It could all happen in the blink of an eye with siege onagers out there, but maybe, just maybe, they're doing it for long enough time for the trade to pay off.
We'll have to keep our eyes peeled if that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, skirmishers just went down after I said that, making it oh so difficult.
It's a huge blast.
Yeah.
You really got to be careful of those siege onager shots. It just makes them such a devastating unit in the late game, especially back with the Celts' multiple bonuses, particularly the incredibly high HP stat of 105. This push will be decisive, it looks like, now that those skirmishers have indeed died. Treason has been researched yet again, and Eddie might be eliminated here, so it looks like this triple alliance will not be enough.
I'm sorry, where is Eddie's king at right now? Do you happen to know?
That is a good question. I think it's in that town center at the bottom of his base.
Okay,
all
so
the way at the bottom.
Okay, so it's possible he will lose his base. Maybe he'll stay alive. It looks like he will be out of the game once he loses everything. There's no way he can rebound. I noticed that at the top, Stark has transported, and maybe he's going to try and cut through to Viper's king. I don't know how doable that is.
Ooh.
As Doubt is already on it, sending a siege onager there and building a castle. Like, how fast was that? Only 5 buildings got up, and he's building a castle, and a siege onager is there. It's crazy.
Ooh, God, that bombard tower just missing every shot, being absolutely awful here. Just needs to hit that siege onager, cannot do it. I like that Stark did try to put some bombard towers to protect this forward, and I do think that this was a good idea. Even grabbing the husbandry and light cavalry upgrades. Just trying to do some raiding to even it out, maybe snipe out a king, but this will be stopped. Doubt saw it. The Viper now coming with some Hussars. This forward is no longer going to work, and now that kind of leaves our team of 3 with really only one option, which is fight their opponents directly, and that approach just has not been working.
I mean, Viper has 96 military, and that is, I'm not going to say 100%, but 98% Mangadai. I'm pretty sure, a couple Hussars, but it's pretty much Doubt's job to go with Siege and Halb, and Viper with Mangadai, and this isn't a team game, it's Diplo, which of course means you can team up, not to the end, but it looks like they're going to take it down to 2 at this rate. Just an incredible job. And Stark, he landed, but he has 1,200 gold. He doesn't have any Siege Onagers here, and it's really disappointing to see, I think, for the rest of the players he's involved with trying to fight back. It hasn't been enough.
Yeah, poor Bullet and poor Eddie really just haven't had an opportunity to get a foothold in the middle of the map. They have no gold, no resources to field out any threatening late-game options, and also, they're just not great civs in the super late game for this. Generally, we consider those 2 civs to be more of the aggressive variety. The Elite Eagle Warriors right now have kind of surpassed their usefulness so that they can be okay, and they just don't have the eco to support that anyway. Right now, it's just going to depend on Stark being able to hold the line. He never even dropped back off that relic. Bunch of elite skirmishers here to protect him. He has one hell of a defensive line with all these towers, but I still think it won't be enough.
Yeah. I mean, he needs kind of a miscue from the other players, because Viper has so many Mangadai, they can run in and they can pick off 1, 2, 3 Siege Onagers, so he needs to mass some, and he needs to hope for some big shots with his extra range. Eddie wants to call the GG. He's at 100 population. He's not happy about that. And all his skirmishers are all going to go down. You don't want to run that close to Siege Onagers, Eddie. There's no way he can contribute to that fight.
Shot anyway, but there's no way this is going to live. And there we go.
Yeah. I found it funny that he actually microed that. Commentator's curse, so to speak. But yeah, there are Hussars there anyway. Waiting for a response.
Yeah, I see that right now. He miraculously juked almost every Siege Onager shot, only losing his army near the end of that. And right now, it's kind of boiling down to what we talked about earlier, which is this idea of the Viper versus Doubt, as I do not think that Stark will be able to hold this. And it also depends on which of these players end up losing the most resources trying to take down Stark, because Stark has one hell of a defense. Doubt actually has only 200 gold in the bank, and if we check out the Viper's got almost 4k, so
yeah, he is.
Viper looking like he's in quite a strong position. All these siege weapons are dying, that's the thing. These siege rams, these siege onagers, that's a lot of money down the drain, and Doubt's the one with the heavy siege doing the pushing.
I can't help but think that Viper has a plan to kill Doubt. When I watch Viper play 1v1s, he is really good at stockpiling resources. I wouldn't have been surprised if he sold resources first, too, to get like the added gold, because he did research Siege Ram. So while he hasn't made any, he's prepared, and he might be going for this king at some point. But first they're going to push across the map, and these other, what seem to be weaklings after this pause is finished, they're gonna live to regret maybe killing MBL, because MBL is a strong player and they just didn't care.
Yeah, in this situation, I really feel like these players could have made better use of alliances throughout the stages of the game. There were a lot of players that they took out that were in a position where they might not be able to win the game, but they could have been a very valuable ally. So right now, there aren't that many players remaining, or at least in essence, as, well, poor Bullet and Eddie don't have much of a presence in the mainland anymore, and Stark about to lose most of his base, and this trade line that they worked oh so hard to set up.
So here's the funny thing, Bullet saying, damn, MBL's in the middle, he blocked us from stopping them trading. They're not trading. They're not trading. Doubt and Viper are not trading at all. So, unless they're trading on water, the team that is trading is getting pushed back, so there's no trade involved. It's just map control, and what happened was all the guys on the right fought amongst themselves. Eddie killed Bact, and then they killed MBL as well. Tato, of course, Doubt killed, but I just feel like Doubt, one of the biggest legends in the game, Viper, probably the best player ever. They should have done a little bit more, and now they are probably regretting it.
Did you see Doubt ping his own base, ping 2 Mangadai that were sitting there, and a Hussar and a bunch of siege auditors of the Vipers, and he said,
Oh, really?
yeah, I wonder what this is. As you're right, he's just been, panning his camera over every like 5
Oh,
seconds.
yeah, I must be a little bit behind you here, because I just now see that. I just now see
Okay.
that, yeah, and that's...
And now we're paused again.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Doubt recognized that. Yeah, SO's there. Mangadai, of course, enough to snipe a king. Alright, so we are getting to that point. These guys do not mess around. And... Oh! Okay, I hope they saved. I hope they saved, because Viper dropped. I assume...
What a twist!
I assume they dropped. I mean, saved, sorry.
Doubt says, as the Viper realizes his plan has been exposed and quickly unplugs his Ethernet
Yeah,
cable.
exactly.
I'm kidding, his client crashed. I've been exposed! He's been found out. So I just quit the current game, right? And we go back to the lobby?
Yeah, they should be able to restore it, I imagine. Okay, Voobly crashed, so... The other guys just saved. They should be able to restore it. Hold tight, guys. Now, Tato, the way it works when you're spectating a game like this, if, let's say, for example, Tato died, right, and he would have closed out the game, it would have actually stopped the spectating. I figured that out the hard way. So I told Tato not to leave the game, and I'm going to message him right now to let him know he can leave the game. He could have, of course, gone to the bathroom or something. Alright, he's in Do Not Disturb. He could have just left it up. Yeah, he's probably AFK, but good for him that he left it up. They all probably saved. At this level, they have saved many, many times. I don't know where
especially,
they're
of
going.
course, after playing the HD tournament that we just had the honor of.
Yeah, exactly. They're used to it. They're used to it.
Yeah, they know to save and exit all the time.
They may be waiting for me to host, so I'm just gonna host one and I'll watch the players. And if the players host one, I'll just go there as well. I'm in game 110, Rez, so...
Game 110?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try and find that.
I'll invite Viper, and I'm pretty sure all of the other players will follow Viper.
I will use this as a opportunity to grab a glass of water.
Yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I'll be back in like a minute.
Yep, no worries. Okay, guys, so just hang tight. By the way, we hit a viewer record today, and thanks for the donations. Destroyer774, please whisper me on Twitch, /W, and then space, my username. Whisper me, please. That way we can discuss the donation towards the prize pool. I think we should put that towards the next event, personally, but whatever you want to do with that. Because players signed up thinking it was this amount, I think it'd be perfect to go towards the next one. Stark, Bullet, Doubt, and Eddie are here. Game is not over yet. There was a restore needed. I'm going to give them the host, and we should be back underway in a moment. Now, everybody's here, and just hang tight, guys. So, how good has this game been? I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me how good this game has been, and how good the other games have been as well. Tell me what you've thought of this event, please, because I think it's been pretty good. Now, to those of you that might be new here, I know a lot of YouTubers maybe came in, so happy you're here. I am streaming for another 4.5 hours. This is part of my 12-hour stream. I probably should have promoted the event longer than like a week or so.
Well, still, in spite of that, you actually have a really, really high view count right now.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Yep, thank
this is
you.
Impressive. Wow.
It probably would have been at around 1,000, and then Viper signed up and boom. That's all that needed to happen. Okay, so they're restoring it. Because there was a spec delay, there's always a spec delay of at least 130, so it'll probably take like 2 minutes. And sometimes when you restore on Voobly, you miss that 90 seconds, so I hope we don't miss anything important that happens time to time, but it's my suspicion anyway. I'm not sure, but sometimes I feel like I missed a little bit of time when you restore. First game was a derp match. Well, the first game, I should have switched the maps. Had I given the newer players migration, they wouldn't have had time to sit back, relax, and get to 50k gold. But
50k gold?
Yeah. And then they sunk transports. Like it was like they teamed up the entire game. They had trade and like relics. It was graveyards, so there's a ton of relics, and they just committed Santicide, and I was a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, it was unique. So
committed Santicide. I love it.
Yeah, this mod actually is pretty interesting. So it's a graphics mod, but when you go to select Regicide, when you set up the game, it actually says Santicide, and when the king is killed, the king waves and says Merry Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, it's really sweet. And also the deer are reindeer. They have a little red nose, so it's really nice.
Oh.
I'm really glad Gallus made it for me.
Man, that is super cool. I love the fact ever since they added the easy mod integration on Voobly has just been an absolute boon to have.
Yeah, and people like Gallus and the individuals who make the mods really have helped things too, because there's just some amazing mods, and I feel like there's always this, like with AOC, it's such a simple game that can be so complex with what you can do with it, and the mods never would have been found had individuals not pioneered to do it, and he's one of them. So is that mod on the Steam Workshop? No. If you type !Christmas mod, it actually links you to the mod, but it's only a Voobly mod. As far as I know, that wouldn't be possible on HD, but I could be wrong. I know it's probably not there. I guess graphics mods are possible, so you might be able to do it, but this actually changes the king into Santa Claus, so.
You did a stream once with some
I would like to donate
building
$20
mod, right?
for the next prize pool you guys do.
One sec.
Love the co-streaming, keep it up.
Bad Joez 31. Thanks, man. I'll definitely do that. Yeah, Rez. So it was a mistake apparently by Gallus. He was messing around with creating a mod, and he realized that the building moved, and so he just kept it. And that was, to be honest, it was torture to play. Torture. Because it's really random how the buildings move. But yeah, I did do that, and after about 2 games, I was done. But that is possible. You can build a castle or a tower and literally move it towards your enemy.
Oh god, as if they needed to be possible.
Exactly.
That was one of the first things that that was one of the first things I experimented with when I was a kid with the modding. I really like that you just have like such a wide variety of settings on the live stream. And I think one of my favorite ones was the Funhouse map. That one was very entertaining.
Yeah, we need to get a really good game so we can upload it to YouTube, because Dave's Funhouse is a hilarious map, but like it always seems like one player survives the onslaught of the boars and ends up winning easily. So I want like a competitive game so I can upload it, but it certainly is hilarious. Number 3 is about to be restored, guys. Sorry to interrupt, Rez. So it's about to start.
Oh, I was about to say the exact same thing, which is we're about 10 seconds away from getting back into the game, so stay tuned, stay tuned.
Okay. We may have missed the 90 seconds I talked about, but we're back in, and time to focus again. Viper is so close to this trade line, which is so important to start because he's in such a bad position with gold as it is. And I also want to look at Doubt's Castle. Okay, it seems safe, but I feel like Viper's going to turn at any moment, Rez.
Oh, definitely. When we last left off, Doubt was pinging the group of siege onagers and the small group of raiding cavalry units of the Vipers, and was like, I wonder what this is. And we've been talking about the potential for betrayal for so long. And now Doubt getting extremely paranoid, putting some of his own siege onagers. He's going to attack ground his ally and take out those group of onagers. Nice.
That's beautiful. Oh man, and
That's the
Viper
boy.
will know what happens too. Viper will be like, okay, he's sending a message. It's so beautiful. Oh man.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's
you have to expect it because those two are going to be fighting one another shortly. Beautiful.
all about stationing some bombard towers in your teammate's base, some onagers, some siege rams, all under the guise of protection, of course. You're trying to keep your friend safe by protecting his king by surrounding it with your own bombard towers. But it looks like Doubt, you know, he's played enough Age of Empires too. He's not having any of this.
Yes.
And now I love how they're. Oh, Viper's flat out lying here. He said, "Can you make?"
This is so smart.
He said, "Can you make more Rams? I'm low on gold." He has over 4K gold. That's a lie. I feel like Doubt should know that he needs to turn, but we'll see. Viper's just lying.
Classic misdirection, bold-faced lie from the Viper here. What a guy!
Yep.
That's my man. He said that he's low on gold. And we were talking about this earlier, where Doubt's the one doing all the heavy lifting with his siege weapons. The Viper conserving every little last drop of money he can get. And Viper's like, Doubt, please make more Rams, as Doubt has a whopping 100 gold in the bank. Can't even afford to make more than like a single Ram.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at what Doubt's doing in response to this. As much as the other players are interesting,
Oh no.
I feel like I need to see if Doubt's gonna have a response to this. And right now, I don't think he will have a response to this. Viper's even making trebs down next to where his king is, kind of to the, well, not next to where his king is, but his bottom left castle, if you could call it that. These 6 trebs, so I think he's gonna go for it. I think Doubt's gonna be in a bad position, and Viper in a good one. Viper has allied Eddie, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that, yeah.
I don't know what that is going to accomplish, except maybe some line of sight.
Those are some nice gather points that the Viper has right next to that king. Gotta keep it safe.
I wonder if... Oh, Doubt's now making trebs. But Viper's so safe. I don't know why he built a market down there with that Santa Claus. Maybe he wants to like hide behind it. But
Oh yeah, no one will notice. It's sitting right
yeah,
there.
I don't know.
This is just where his market is. There's nothing of value here.
Exactly. Don't trade down there though.
This is such a stupid game, but I'm absolutely enjoying every
Oh
single
man, I mean,
moment of
the
it.
level of play is actually really good, but I think there's going to be little left for Eddie and Stark shortly. I don't get why Viper would ally Eddie, but I don't think it matters. When the Rams come in from Doubt, that castle will go down and all this trade will go down as well. And Stark hasn't really done anything this game, in my opinion.
Basically, what he's done is he's served as a huge drain of resources for every player here.
Pretty much.
With all the bombard towers and everything. He really had almost no shot at winning, though, just because he didn't have much of a presence. His military population never quite got past, like, 25 or so. I mean, now it's higher, but it's too little too late. And my question is, if you're Doubt, is it time to stop pushing on the right-hand side and deal with the elephant in the room, or in this case, the Viper in the room?
It should be. But he's still sending things forward. I mean, it's quite frustrating because I really want to see the Viper go down because it's obvious Viper is playing the smart way, right? I want to see somebody take it to Viper, but Doubt, it doesn't look like he's doing that. And he doesn't have the resources he would need either. Viper's killing all this trade. Mangadai, I think Mongols are the best civ because of the Mangadai and the siege you can get as well. Look at that kill death for Viper. 750 kills, 238 deaths. And wow.
That is absolutely disgusting. This trade line being shredded to bits no longer exists. Right now, it looks like Eddie finally has some elite Eagle Warriors. Apparently, Viper slung him a little bit. And now the Viper, he's got a plan. He's been playing 4D chess the entire game. And he's once again stationing some units for protection. And the Viper says, "Did you shoot my siege hunters around your castle?" Not sure, says Doubt. Nice.
And then he says, "Damn right I did." Oh, that's
what friends
perfect. Okay, so the funny thing is that Viper is allied with Eddie right now, and Viper actually called for Doubt to shoot Eddie's Eagles with the SO. So Viper is teaming with everybody. I don't know. I assume he's changing who is able to see his chat as well. But,
Yeah.
But, and then Doubt says, what are you saving for? Yeah, I mean, Doubt knows this is coming. This is great. This is great.
If they attack here, makes sense, says Doubt.
Oh, man, how can they chat and play at the same time? Who knows? They're freaks, as I like to say. It's crazy.
It takes a really different skill set to be able to play these big free-for-all games where you have to play the psychological aspect of it, be able to balance out all these alliances and take down these players. And I feel like the Viper knows exactly what he needs to do. Pit everyone against each other, make clever use of alliances, and my eyes are on Doubt. I think he has established, he knows that something's coming.
Yeah.
He has a very good defense with these Trebs, these Howls, these Onagers. We'll have to see if it's enough, because a big betrayal is coming.
Well, what I'd really like to see is for Doubt to betray as well. I mean, if Doubt was able to communicate and turn against Viper, that'd be great. I feel like everybody would like a slice of the pie on that. But as of now, it just looks like Viper's doing the one communicating, and Eddie says that's my only army. Probably talking about his Eagles, which is pretty funny. I don't know where that army actually is right now. But Eddie is actually down to 19 vills, 33 military. Everybody's at such a low population right now, except for Bullet. And where's Stark's population at, actually? Mainly on water, and he has TCs, SOs. Oh my gosh, look at
the right corner.
Yeah, he might actually be going for some type of landing at some point. This is pretty nuts. Even Bullet has a barracks with like infantry. They're not giving up.
I like this play a lot. People keep forgetting that you do have the starting islands here. Star's got the trade cogs, I guess, so, he still has a little bit of an economy, and, well, they might be able to do something with this navy, maybe give Doubt a hand to take down the Viper, or take down Doubt, so they're certainly not out of the game yet, and what I like about the Viper's market in the corner, this is really stupid, but bear with me. If he put the king directly behind the market, it would have the bright green outline, which would make it easier to see. So instead, he picked a building that kind of pops out against the background, like the market, and it's not really concealing the king, but it should just not make it immediately obvious that there's something there.
On the minimap
or if you put
too,
the king
yeah.
completely behind it, yeah. And on the minimap too, it's not immediately obvious, so
Yeah.
we'll have to see if anyone falls for that, but
Well,
it's subtle.
I assume Doubt knows where it's at, but you're definitely right. If he were to glance, like let's say he didn't know where it was, and he were to see something on the minimap, then quickly glance because they move so fast, and then be like, "Oh, that's a market," and then look away,
Yep.
he would not have a clue. And Viper, the one thing he's not doing is garrisoning his castles, like some players do at the lower levels to act as a fake. But
Oh yeah,
still,
put the flags in there.
yeah, still it's pretty interesting. Viper and Doubt are still trying to push in on the economy that Bullet has left. And I think with the Trebs that Viper actually sent forward, should be able to do that.
It also makes sense to have a market in the corner, I suppose, but I don't think that will be fooling anybody. In the meantime, though, we found that army of Eagle Warriors. If you look on the left side of the map on the island, actually we had a little bit of a landing, so these players are up to something.
Yeah.
That's a colossal navy for Stark. Stark just said, fuck the land. Right now, Bullet just trying to, once again, drain resources. The Viper's treasury running low. I mean, not the Doubt's treasury running low. The Viper claims his treasury is running low, but he's actually doing just fine.
Yeah, and more than just fine. I mean, he has so many resources. Bullet has just changed Viper to enemy after he lost a castle by Viper's trebuchet, so a little bit late. But Viper's in a great position, so I'm waiting for these guys to turn against Viper, especially Doubt. But I think the real struggle is going to be the fact that Viper is in such a good spot with his king. It's not like they can surprise the guy.
No, they cannot. What a dicey situation for everybody in this game, but I just love that these players do indeed have something on the
Bullet,
island.
I think, is going to lose his king. Viper has him surrounded. There's Mangadai, and the castle's going to
He
go
needs to get to
down.
Stark's transport. Oh wait, Bullet says they think the king's in my castle. Is he also doing 5D interdimensional chess? What's going
It's
on?
in the tower now. I'm watching it. It's in the tower. He's trying to play mind games. I don't think that's gonna work here, bud.
No!
Oh, there it goes. Merry Christmas. But yeah, I mean, just more map control for Viper, and I'm really interested to see what, because I assume the Eagles are going to work together with Stark's army of SOs. which probably took him forever to get, by the way. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm curious to see it when it happens.
I just love this Stark. His economy at this point is like 99% trade cogs.
Yeah.
And he just has a navy. And maybe he can really do something with that. He can't kill any players. He doesn't really have enough bombard cannons, but maybe he can, give some naval support. Doubt actually found Eddie's army of Eagle Warriors, and so those two are not working together. Those Eagle Warriors, a lot of them did end up dying, so that's quite awkward. Doubt kind of needs a plan, I think, to take down the Viper.
Yeah, and we've just been waiting for it, and maybe everybody else will be killed, and then they'll turn. But I noticed Doubt is building more buildings in the way, like more barracks. So it looks like maybe he's preparing, but I've said that so many times before. It seemed like Viper was preparing at one point, and then Doubt spotted it. So maybe the reverse will happen here.
Oh, T90, we do have to be a little bit careful. So if we look at the right corner of the map where the Viper's king is, he's almost cut through that forest, which would expose his king. I'm assuming he will notice that, though, but that's something we should keep our eye on, just in case that ends up being a disaster for him.
Eddie's Eagles, there's 4 Eagles wherever they are. They're probably dead now. Wouldn't that be something? They make their way in, kill the king. That would be some ending. But yeah, you're definitely right.
Resources.
You're definitely right. Let's see what Stark has. Wow! That's not bad. And he has elite turtle ships. Keep in mind he's been trading on the water. In fact, he relocated a dock. Do you see that? So it's on the mainland. Yeah, so he has been really playing the late game. He's going to lose the dock now, but wow.
Breaking the meta, 1 turtle ship and 1 trade cog at a time. Stark going full aquatic. Meanwhile, the Viper is just like, so Doubt, why are you making all those barracks there? For fun.
For fun. But Doubt has a good point. He says, I guess they're going to trade on water and wait for us to kill one another. So, obviously, Doubt and Viper are not really trusting one another, but they know they need each other now. And Stark, I still don't see how he's going to get back on land, but we have Eddie, who is on water, and we have Stark, who's on water, and now 2 players on land. So, Aztecs is not a, or Mayans is not a great naval civilization. They don't really need to win the water, they just need to get on land. Is it even possible? Well, Stark thinks so, on the bottom side.
Well, never give in, never surrender. Stark grabbing the Hussar upgrades. He has so much money in the bank and 57,000 wood. So, Stark prepping for the long game. Will it be enough? I'm skeptical because his navy can't actually kill anybody. They do get like an infinite trade line, which is basically very safe. It's just this trade line not super duper valuable. These trade cogs only generating, sometimes as little as 8 gold a trip. It is adding up. It's infinite, and there is no trade, crucially, between Doubt and the Viper. We'll have to see if it's enough.
Yeah. Now, Doubt was scouting around with 1 halberdier. At this level, you never have an idle unit, so he's scouted around with 1 halberdier, and he knows that Stark has landed here with these stables. Very good point when these two were discussing things. Doubt says, so I guess we kill each other now. And Viper's like, no, we have to win water. Doubt obviously doesn't want to commit to the water because he thinks he'll be killed, but Viper made a good point. He said, we have wood, so we'll win water. And that's true. There's no wood for these guys to use to replenish their forces with on the water, and all the kings are obviously there as well, so we'll see how that goes, but I think we are in for a longer game now that these guys have chosen 2 different paths.
I think so too, and I'm definitely probably gonna have to split this into the 2 parts. We'll have to see. So Eddie actually slung 500 wood of his like 3,000 to Stark. So they might think that they can win the water because they have the wood, but when you have 57k wood in the bank, and I guess Stark was thinking this far ahead instead of selling his wood in mass, he realized that if the game went incredibly long, and he ended up being isolated on these ridiculously tiny islands, that he would be able to play the longest game possible. He's not going to run out of wood anytime soon. They don't really know it. The Viper says, you're not exactly building up my trust in you here. Neither of these players want to waste the wood and the gold and all the lives it would take to take down Stark. Maybe Stark's going to win just because it's so inconvenient to kill him.
I'm trying to read the chat.
Oh, God.
And Viper's like, we have went through so much together. I mean, I'm trying to page up and they obviously don't trust one another. This is great. This is great. It's impossible for us to go through it, but I'll have to show the chat afterwards when we go through the game, but on the profile. But Viper, I mean, he has Hussars in his stables. I think we have to see him fight now, right? Like, wouldn't that be the best if Viper and Doubt fought now, and then the others came back onto land?
Dad says I can't waste pop on the water with you behind him. DLHF. So I guess it's about to happen.
Oh
and
my
he says, Stark,
gosh!
you can win it.
It's happening! It's happening! The two top players in the game are fighting one another. Oh man!
Stark says my strat is bank, and that it is. Here comes the fight we've all been waiting for between Doubt and the Viper. Which player will come out on top?
Holy shit, this is amazing. Now we have the seed germs from Viper I talked about I don't know how long ago coming in. They're the Trebs as well. Keep in mind that Doubt's king is right there. Viper's is in the corner. This is amazing. Ram's coming out from Doubt now as well, 405 HP. Rez, who do you think has an advantage here?
I definitely think that the Viper has one hell of an offensive setup, but he will have to watch it for the defensive perimeter. It's all about whether or not Doubt can keep those siege hunters alive. I think I like the Viper more just because he's able to, really just kill all of Doubt's economy. He just set up such a strong attack. The Viper's king is actually kind of exposed. He did actually cut through that forest. I don't think that will matter. We'll have to see. Huge alliance switching going around. Doubt causing substantial losses for the Viper, but it looks like they're going to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, they might just push in. I think Viper wants to go for that castle now. The interesting thing is there's like 12 SOs there stacked on top of one another for Doubt, and he will fire, but he hasn't fired yet. What are you doing? He doesn't want the Hussars to get in there. Viper's going in with the Hussars just to take out the SOs. Of course, Mangadai, of course, so important, can take out the SOs as well. This is really an important fight.
That it is, and it's going to come down to some really careful micro to decide who comes out on top here. I do kind of favor, the Viper who just is able to attack on so many angles, but if he eats just one siege onager shot on his Mangadai, then that could be it for him. I think Doubt has done an absolutely excellent job of defending this, keeping his own onagers alive. Oh, he might be able to hold this line. He has the halves.
Yeah, I think it's the siege rams, really. 405 HP. It's just so much meat. And if you go halberdier to take out the hussars, it's just so strong. If he gets one shot, like you said, Rez, it can be a game changer. But Viper's going split formation to try and go in and get the SOs, which probably will go down now. That's a really good piece of work from Viper.
He's going for the snipes, and with the staggered formation, he will be able to do it. That's what's going to decide this fight, are plays like that, trying to find a window of opportunity, and he was able to do that. With those SOs down, it's really going to weaken Doubt's actual push. The units by default will try to attack the thing that's closest to them, so these siege onagers these siege rams are just a great sponge to soak up that arrow fire.
Now, Doubt has taken the score lead, and I think he might have a little bit of an advantage. I think Viper is selling some of his resources. He doesn't have as much gold as he did before, and in the late game without gold, if Viper loses his Mangadai, he'll only have Hussar researched, and that's going to really be rough for him. In the late game, you normally go with like Trash and Rams, maybe Trebs, so Viper's going to need to be careful with these Mangadai. It really is close here. The other guys are actually going back onto land a bit. Well, no, I lied, they're not. But we'll have to focus to see if they're actually fighting one another. What a game we have.
That indeed. This is such a blast and an honor to be here today. And the Viper, down to 100 gold. So like you just talked about, he did indeed spend every single penny he has in the bank. And now that puts him on the same level as Doubt. Poor as hell. Doubt with only 20 gold in the bank. I believe Doubt actually has some relics that have been generating him some money.
3, I believe.
He has 3, that's sizable, and the Viper has none?
Does he have any? None.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't. He has no relics. So, the interesting thing is Viper's massed so many Mangadai. He's pushed those halberdiers back. So, it's crazy because both players actually have good things going for them, but they're completely different things. Siege units for Doubt, he has to protect them though, and then same thing for Viper. But those Mangadai, they need some support. So, I really like the fact that he's spreading these units out. We'll see how these siege onagers do because they have a ton of HP. That's a good shot or two for Doubt. But his king is in that castle. He needs to be careful.
But it's not going to be good enough because even though the Siege Onagers are pretty good versus the Mangudai have that little attack bonus, and also it's the crazy ability to just stop and shoot and continuously keep moving. So difficult to get those shots off. And Doubt's army going to be cleaned up. He did such a good job defending, but it's not going to be enough. He's in deep trouble here. Will someone bail him out?
Well, he's down below 30 military population. Viper is climbing to 90, and Doubt has ran to this castle, and he said 400 gold, my ass. Oh, man.
Well played.
And Doubt knows. Doubt knows that Viper was lying. And you know what? Viper is banking so much wood and food as well. He can continue to sell. Viper in a perfect position here. As a commanding lead, I think. Doubt's desperate.
Did Doubt just... Did someone just tribute a shitload of wood? I think I missed that. Regardless, it looks like... So Doubt's backed his king up. You'd think that the 3 relics would have... And I feel like the 3 relics have made a huge impact to this game. It's just that, unfortunately, he is going to lose them now. And they were just not enough as the Viper, so conservative with his resources during the entire game. Letting his teammates do the dirty work. Eddie slinging some resources to Doubt, it looks like, and...
Viper needs to sit underneath that... Oh! I was going to say Viper needs to sit underneath this castle to kill the king. That SO could change things. The king's surely going to go down here. Doubt's got to be finished. I think Viper's going to finish him off. There's one Treb, though. In come the Rams. Where's it gonna go?
He's parked right underneath that castle. He's ready, just like you said. This king trying to escape, but Doubt will be eliminated. He says GG. And what an excellent game between these players. And now, there are only 3 remaining. We have the Viper, Stark, and Eddie. And Stark, the naval superpower, hiding in the corner. Oh god, with his purely trade cog economy. Does the Viper have the willpower to defeat this boss?
I just don't know what to say about all of that. All the chat leading up to it was perfect. And now Stark says, Eddie, we need to kill Doubt Market ASAP. That's actually really smart. But I don't think Viper is the type of player who will trade because he doesn't want to waste population. I don't think we'll trade yet. Right. I think he might just take the relics and continue to sell resources for now, to be honest. But I could be wrong. It's something he needs to think about. I can't imagine what Eddie must be thinking right now. Look at that small base he has. 1 castle, idle villagers, a bunch of trade cogs, 13k score, not even. Viper's at 44k, and he's destroyed everything. And he's like, all right, guys, saddle up. We're going out. We're going to get a victory. I mean, it's nuts. It really is.
Well, I hope you guys are ready for a really long game because this one is not over yet. The Viper has a sizable amount of resource in the banks. He's got about 28k wood, 11k food, and almost 3k gold. And let's compare that to Stark, our resident banker friend. Stark is rich.
He really is rich. I mean, way more gold than Viper. So he played the late game, and that weird trade strat we saw actually really worked out. So Diplo is so important. He had friends, and Viper killed his friend. And you know what? We could maybe look back. I don't know how this game will go, but we could maybe look back to when Viper sat right outside Doubt's castle, and we could say that's what really made them not trust each other. Who knows? Because I feel like Doubt was a little bit more trusting. But man, we are going to have a game here because we could see a ton of Korean SO, aka the Korean Death Ball, coming at Viper.
Yeah, Doubt seemed really comfortable with the idea of the Viper just being on his team for most of the game until we saw that crucial moment where he's just clearly stationing units outside that castle for a King's Knight. One of the things that's going to be quite important for the Viper is that he does now have access to all 3 of Doubt's relics, which will generate him a steady flow of gold income over time. I think it will still be worse than the trade cogs, and right now we're sitting at a little bit of a pause as these 2 titans ready to duke it out. But Stark also has an ace in the hole of his own. Not only has he been stockpiling money, but also Eddie has been slinging him a lot.
Wow, that's an interesting point. I'm actually looking at the trade profit while I have time. Bullet has 10k trade profit, 10k for Eddie, and 17k for Stark, and he's obviously continuing to trade over a longer distance. I believe the game is back up. So here we go, folks. Viper is snatching those relics, just like you said.
We're back in, and that will generate him quite a bit of gold over time. We'll have to see if that is enough to actually make the critical difference. What a ridiculous trade network that they have on the right side. Viper still dealing with the remnants of Doubt's military units.
I'm trying to think of something. Like, this reminds me of something, but I can't quite put it to mind. I mean, just look at these things.
Is there a market T90 left on the main island besides the Vipers?
I believe Doubt would have one. No, he does not. Doubt does not have one there. I'm just doing the market hotkey. So Doubt maybe deleted his or it was destroyed. Eddie does have one, but he has a TC there, so he would probably alert Stark to that. And I don't think Viper can trade.
Well, the only person that he can trade with, like you said, is going to be with Eddie's market, and I think that Eddie would rather let that happen over his dead body. Stark switching to ally. Crucially, this is going to be a huge turning point in the game. Stark has indeed allied with Tato and MBL, so the super team is back from the grave.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, they're dead, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, one could
Eddie
hope.
will be landing.
One could hope. Get a monk over here. Get a monk! But it's interesting on the dashboard. I just realized that one of these, there's two Tatos. I know you can't see it, Rez, but anyway, carrying on. Viper has a ton of SOs. And also to point out to the stream, if Viper were to want to win water back, ooh, it looks like he lost a lot of Manga Die in the process of trying that at the top where Teal's army is now.
Yeah.
He would have to get docks, and Stark does not want that to happen. So it's almost like Teal can do whatever he wants at the moment. He can continue to trade while Viper just has to sell resources. Teal, of course, can allow himself entry to the mainland because he has access to water. So very interesting. Viper, I think, in a poor position, to be honest.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult for him to win this. I can't believe that Stark and Eddie are causing so much trouble, but they are. And speaking of trouble for the Viper, he has to be quite wary of Eddie, because Eddie has landed. He has 2 town centers. He's just walking around. The Viper was patrolling with Hussars, so he does indeed see this, but will those villagers actually settle? We'll have to keep our eyes on that.
I don't know, but it's really nice. I don't know if you thought of it, but I certainly didn't. Before Doubt resigned, or was killed, sorry, he quickly changed his diplomatic stance to ally with Eddie and Stark. So he has
But he
halberdier.
can delete the buildings, right?
Well, that, and also the fact that he is like a halberdier and a ram and everything, and those units will not attack Eddie and Stark. So this actually really helps them, because obviously these villagers, they don't have much protection. So I did notice one halberdier actually underneath Eddie's new TC would have denied it, I think. So just something to point out, and I really like that from Doubt. The things that players at this level wouldn't normally do, because they normally don't play Diplo.
That's a really good point. The last-minute switch of the Alliance does give them quite a big edge. Those units will not attack them, and then also they can maybe delete some buildings. I'm not sure if they deleted Doubt's market for him, or just he didn't have one, or he deleted it himself. I don't know how the Viper is going to find an opportunity right now to actually build the docks that he needs. Stark has vision of basically the entire coastline. He's got towers everywhere, military buildings. Now Eddie just being a total nuisance, stalling for time, wasting resources, and he is slowly but steadily building some semblance of presence on the mainland, backed by Stark's navy, which is boxed in this really tiny lake.
If I had a guess, Eddie doesn't seem to have a lot of resources. My guess would be he's going to go with Halberdier and Skirm, which means that he's going to have a lot of floating food and wood, because they're just going to go down so fast. He's trying to put up TCs, but they're going down right away. Viper's map control is everywhere. And if he's able to mass them, that'd actually be really effective. If Teal also gets on the mainland, and it looks like that is happening. Stark is going for it. But it's almost like they recognize they don't have enough vills. Actually, Stark only has 4 villagers.
Ah! Wait, oh my god, you're right.
It says 65 villagers. I was like, what? That's not right. 4 idols.
Oh,
We're both wrong, Rez. It's okay. As long as you were wrong with me. Yeah.
Do those count as fishing ships and trade cogs too, though? I think he only has like 20 villagers.
Yeah, fishing ships are 14. So
Okay. Does it count trade cogs?
This particular one does not, because I didn't add it on. So it doesn't have that, but I imagine there's a lot. In fact, I can check trade units. 59 for Eddie and Stark.
Oh god.
Stark has 45, so a lot of trade cogs. But yeah, I mean, it's always
Yeah, we were both a little.
it's always nice when someone else gets something wrong with me, because then I don't look like much of an idiot. But
yeah, I glanced at that. I saw 4 and I said 5.
yeah, exactly.
It's almost believable at this point in the game. It is, because he has just almost no villagers at all, but he does have a town center on the mainland at least.
Well, Viper's pushing in now. He has those Mongol siege rams, and I don't see Eddie being able to stop this. The water control is nice from Stark on the edge of that pond, is helping out, but Viper will just steamroll over everything. And Viper's even harassing the new TC of Stark, so it's like Stark needs time to build up, and he just hasn't had it.
Yeah, there's one thing for certain, even though Stark has more than 4 villagers, it doesn't feel like it, as he's building these stables with 1 vill at a time. At this rate, it's going to take him forever to build up any sort of presence in the mainland, and I think that his massive navy kind of biting him in the butt at this point.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have enough of a land presence to back up Eddie here, and as a result, I think that we've reached another stalemate.
If you look at Viper's point of view, and you toggle to his Fog of War, you can actually see a new landing from Stark at the top. And I almost feel like Stark is really playing late game. He's not making any gold units. He's making only trash units to just starve Viper. But Viper can see almost everything, except this very right side. But even that, he's sending Hussars there. He's just trying to make sure that they are not landing and building up. So, still, Viper... The point remains, Viper needs to do something more and get on water, but...
So Eddie was like, can I have some food and gold, maybe for elite Eagle Warriors, unless you're low on resources? And Stark replied, never. Stark is never low on resources. He's got enough money to survive the apocalypse. When all these players are dead, Stark will be the only human left on the planet. He's ready for anything.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, they allowed Stark to get out here, and who would have thought that the base would look like this? I mean, Siege Onagers here to protect the castle towers as well. I mean, this is almost something you could take a picture of and put the screenshot on, like, the front of a campaign or something. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't mean to... Okay, so Stark just slung almost all of his gold to Eddie, and then Eddie wanted to go buy a little bit of wood, but he accidentally spent almost all of Stark's gold on wood, and now both of them have almost no gold.
What? Are you kidding me? He had like 8k gold.
And now he has 350.
That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That's such a fail. Unbelievable. That's quite a spot there, Rez. He's just making trash. What? How do you make such a mistake? There's just silence.
Absolute unmitigated disaster.
There's just silence from them in the chat too. Like, they're just like, wait, what just happened? It's like Eddie doesn't want to tell Stark what just happened. Oh my gosh.
What a Titanic. That has to be one of the biggest misplays I've seen in a while, and so unfortunate because these two have been one unstoppable duo throughout the entire game. All of Stark's fortune burned away so fast in a twist that no one could have possibly predicted.
Wow.
Now both of them, as poor as the Viper, they're on even terms. And of course, Eddie could have asked for some wood tribute from Stark, who I think Stark still has 56k in the bank.
Yeah.
But Eddie was like, well, you know, I need some wood to build some barracks, and now that I have all this gold, let me just buy a little bit of wood at the market, which presumably at this point costs $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's awful. Viper is massing a lot of trebs and siege rams. He needs to get on water, but again, like you said, he needs the resources. It might be a little bit easier because the other guys do not have it. Now, I think Stark is still generating a lot of gold. He has a relic, and I think he is selling. And honestly, I think mainly it's his trade really helping him out now, because he has a lot of trade cogs, and he's rising up above a K. So because he's not spending it either, it's going to help out. But Viper's like, you know what? Stop raiding with Hussars, please. I'm just going to take all these buildings down now, and that's that.
Yeah, basically this just creates a brief window of opportunity for the Viper to maybe gain some momentum back, but the thing is though, that will not necessarily be decisive, as Stark, like you just mentioned, does have quite a stable source of gold income. Sure, the Viper has 3 relics, but I still think that Stark is in a good position here. this will slow them down, and really what's going to win them this game is if they can just somehow get a foothold on the mainland, which they're really struggling to do because the Viper has vision everywhere.
Yeah, something interesting to point out that is completely irrelevant. We're talking about Eddie's wood struggles. If you look to the right of that fight that just happened where Viper went in with the SOs and the siege rams, there's a 10 HP villager from Eddie on the lumber camp collecting wood, just chopping away, collecting wood. Which he so desperately needs. But Viper, I mean, he is still producing a lot of gold units. He just lost a couple SOs to some Hussars, but not a big deal, and some Trebs. And maybe he's going to use the Trebs against the ships, which is not ideal, but it'll work.
Yeah, lack of bombard cannons here is quite unfortunate, as that would be a little bit better versus the ships. The ships can kind of juke the shots of the Trebs, and also if Stark makes like a cannon galleon or something like that, the trebuchets just can't, unpack and juke them. The Viper's micro might be really, really good, but it's not that good.
Yeah.
Nothing is that good. And Stark actually, you see, he has a transport ship right next to this relic that's on this middle of the island, and he has a monk inside his transport ship. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of in the ocean. It's between their islands. It's in the middle of the map-ish.
I'm not sure which island you're talking about.
It's really tiny, so it's like in the middle of the map. If you scroll down from the middle of the map, you can see there's a transport ship from Stark. It might be really difficult to find that because it's just on the shallows. But yeah, he has a monk, and there's a relic right next to it, but he hasn't actually picked it up yet.
Oh, I think I saw that earlier on. Yeah. I remember he had the relic in his hands. I didn't touch on it. But anyway, I can't seem to find it, but believe Rez, guys. He tells the truth. So, Viper's gonna he's gonna try and dock. I think, at the top.
He is? Where's he docking?
At the top. Right now he's gonna try it. Okay, so it's interesting because normally you would try and build a castle on the water. And
right, yeah, the castle would of course protect the dock.
Yeah, but in this case, there's of course turtle ships, cannon galleons, and things like that, so it wouldn't necessarily work. Viper desperately just trying to sneak some docks up, and I don't know how long this is going to stay up.
Well, the answer is not very long. He will not be able to build that castle. By the way, good luck with your exam tomorrow, Mr. Alacy. Or the Viper is just having a lot of difficulty trying to find a foothold where he can build some docks. It's just Stark has definitive control over the water. This is an absolute nightmare situation to deal with. Stark also trying to do some sort of cutting with some of his landed units, but the Siege Onager was just barely in the Viper's line of sight, and the Viper has a colossal land army stationed to go deal with this, so once again, we're at a stalemate.
Yeah, and hey, I casted a game that was 4 hours game time today. 2 hours and 25 minutes is nothing. I wanted to do a large size because I wanted to give players an opportunity to implement strategies, and I knew that when money was on the line, they would be the long games. But you know what? I did not imagine that the Viper would have the mainland, and then 2 players would be trading with trade cogs on these small islands. Still very interesting. Viper just needs to dock, and honestly, we could be here forever if he doesn't get docks up somehow. Can he get docks up? I don't know.
I don't know either, and I have to say, I would have never expected one of these players to go all the way back to their starting islands and create a sea fortress of trade cogs, producing infinite income, but crap income. It's not enough for Stark to have... He has to make so many trade cogs because the income is so bad, and this means that his military population can only be so large, which makes it very difficult for him to actually close out a game and have a reasonable enough economy. But at the same time, he's so isolated and so safe. He has definitive water control. The Viper just cannot find an opportunity to put down a dock. And until he does, there's no way he can win, and yet the Viper has all these resources left in the mainland. We could be here forever.
I know, it's true, and it almost seems like Stark is uninterested in killing the Viper. Oh, he has 1 SO! He could kill like 5 in one shot! Killed 2 in one shot. That was not bad, though. Okay. But yeah, Stark is like uninterested in killing Viper. He just wants to starve him to death. And he probably is enjoying this as well, because he knows this is probably torture for him.
Yeah, Stark alt-tabbed right now, browsing Reddit casually while he just lets his Navy do the work.
Exactly.
While the Viper doing some StarCraft 2 level micro just to try and get a foothold on the water. The Viper's got these docks down. 2 hours and 28 minutes in, he's finally got the dock to research war galley. We're going to see some boats.
Yeah, we are. He's losing the docks as fast as he puts them up, and he's losing the SOs as well. I mean, if you look at the range differences, 9 range versus 10 range, and then, you know, you compare that to the cannon galleons, which are in there randomly, it doesn't make it any better for him. But the Megadai actually aren't too bad, and Viper, I think, now recognizes he needs to do something more. So he's just going for it, and he's actually going for some fire ships as well. Wow.
Fast fire ship research beginning. The Viper getting the text that he needs. These Onager shots is not quite doing enough, especially these turtle ships are incredibly bulky, and Stark can just afford to take this trade. I feel like this is quite cost efficient for them.
Well, at the same time, think back to what Doubt said before he was brutally murdered. Or maybe Viper said it. I don't know. But Doubt was still brutally murdered. That much is correct.
Poor guy.
There's plenty of wood here. So eventually... Okay, I know Stark is like 50k, but eventually, maybe Stark will run out of wood and he will have to buy it and he won't be able to create ships. So maybe that's what Viper is banking on. And Stark, of course, is still banking a ton of resources. But man, what a fight here, Rez.
My first cocast with T90, which people have been asking for a lot, and it is a game that could go on for a whopping 3 hours. What a crazy slaughter. Stark sustaining a lot of losses here. He has quite a bit of wood in the bank, so he can do this for a while, but like you said, eventually the Viper will have enough wood to catch up, even though he doesn't have that much in the bank. So, the ace in the hole, the hero of this game, the one that no one expected is probably going to be Eddie. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 hours and 30 minutes in, El Dorado research complete. Some elite Eagle Warriors on the right side of the map. Can they do the damage?
Wow. And so the 2v1 is about to happen. He was saying he needed resources. I actually think at the same time, Viper is gaining a pretty good foothold on the water. Look at all the fast fires coming out. That's not going to be too bad for him if he can continue to build docks.
Wow, he's doing it. You know, fast fire ships. He's got the upgrades he needs. The Viper taking out this Navy. Stark's population dropping rapidly. He has to be kind of careful. He's losing a lot of his Navy, and if he happens to lose his Navy, then he has no economy to speak of. He is still holding the line. The Viper's sustaining a lot of losses, but the Navy is shrinking, and there are a crapload of elite Eagle Warriors on the way for the Viper.
Yeah. I think Viper should think about switching to galleons, because there's still a lot of galleons from Stark, so the fires really need a large mass to be able to chase those guys down, and ranged units are generally preferred in standard AOC. Now, I saw some good communication as the Eagles go into Viper's base now to raid his wood lines, and Stark was actually saying to Eddie, who has these Eagles now, he's saying, hey, can you come take out these Trebs, please, on the water's edge, because they're causing me problems.
Stark says the Viper might have 50k wood in the bank, but he does not. He only has 3,000 wood in the bank. And now the Viper getting 2v1, all thanks to the power of Eddie and Stark, who have really been grinding this one out. I also love that Stark mixed in a couple of turtle ships with his army as a big deterrent to those fast fire ships and eats those for breakfast. And like you said, it's just making it kind of awkward for the Viper. He has to retreat now. He almost got rid of Stark's Navy. He got it so very small, but now he has to turn back because he needs those land units to defend his own base. He can no longer use those SOs to clear out that Navy. Now he has to deal with the elite Eagle Warriors.
And somewhere Doubt is smiling, and I know Viper has an emote somewhere. I don't know how many Viper subscribers are in my watching my stream right now, but there is a Doubt emote, and it's him smiling. And somewhere Doubt is very happy that this is happening, because this is just difficult for Viper to deal with. And Eddie's saying, man, Viper's a lot stronger than I thought. My Eagles aren't going to do too much, but to be honest, this is a good distraction, because if you think back, Viper lost so much. He lost, what, maybe 10, 15 Siege Onagers, some Trebs, a lot of Mangadai, so that was a big commitment for Viper, considering he doesn't have any trade.
And while all this is going on, we're giving ample time to Stark and Eddie to just build up another force and keep the pressure on. I don't know how the Viper is actually going to be able to turn around this situation, and Stark could be poised to win this, we'll have to see, but if there's anyone who can pull this out, it will be the Viper. Eddie is trying his best to find that king, and it looks like he's found it as Viper put it back inside his castle, no longer sitting. That would be such a stupid way to end it if the king was still sitting behind the market and died.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I really liked that engagement for Eddie there. He actually killed a decent amount of Mangudai, which really shouldn't happen because the Mangudai are, well, especially in Viper's hands, should be microed better. And he's just going to run away now. So I really liked that move. And this should be an opportunity for Stark to push in. There's actually a villager next to his navy on the left. TC's going up, like you said. Just more map control back on the mainland for the 2 trying to kill the 1, that is Viper.
Now what I need to see is somehow Eddie wins this game. That's the only thing that can make this game better.
Oh, yes, you're so right. I'm going to look at his castle, watch him have like 20 trebs in there, and he's been waiting this entire game. Now, that would have been great. He's strapped for resources, but you're definitely right. That would be amazing. But I just a fact chance.
He's a really awful civilization for this. We have to keep that in mind, unfortunately. If he was not the Mayans and he was a civilization with elite cannon galleons, then maybe he could pull out some of the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in competitive Age of Empires 2. But he's the Mayans, this is going to be tricky. But where there's a will, there's an Eddie. He just needs to convince Stark to send him enough resources, and then Stark can play the ultra long game. He's thinking 4 hours into the future, and maybe, just maybe, he can do this.
Okay.
As Stark is sending a transport ship.
Well, Stark did send him 5k food, and also I like Stark on the left side real quick, if you look, Rez. There's a tower going up for Stark, which might not look like a big deal, but I believe because he has Carto, he realized the Viper has no wood in the back, and that's the wood line he was on, so he's just going to place that there. The Viper cannot have any wood.
That is actually really smart. Poor the Viper has actually basically run out of resources. Stark trying to get a town center on the mainland, and I feel like the Viper is just going to be stretched too thin. He's doing such a good job holding the line.
This is just dirty. Towers on the wood lines next to the water now from Stark. He knows he has the map control. Just building buildings all along the outer edge. There's even towers already up. Like, he's just building towers on the wood. This is so dirty, and I have a tower emote. I'd like to see it now. This is... Like, Stark is known as a campy player, and this is almost the definition of it, but it's at the same time, it's brilliant.
Those are some really... Oh, God, those are some good siege onager shots there from the Viper. Managing to just really take down most of Eddie's elite Eagle Warriors, but now the situation's just getting spiral out of control. These Korean keeps OP, and especially if we had arrow slits here, it would be quite a game. These guys are just getting an overwhelming presence on the mainland, and the Viper's economy in shambles at this point, taking so much damage. Now if you're Eddie, you just gotta be like, hey Stark, I can't do this without a significant loan of $1 billion.
Yeah, can I have just enough gold to make plumed archers and trebuchets, and also to make 10 transports? I won't. I swear, I won't. I won't send them. I won't send them to your base at all. Destroyer, thank you again, man. Thank you again. Man, this is great. I really like this play from Stark. Just the cheekiness of it. It's brilliant.
Wow, and it looks like we've actually hit over 2,000 viewers on your live stream. This is such a great... Wow, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to our cocast today. Hope you've been enjoying it. The Viper desperately trying to set up shop on the top side of this island. Not gonna work, my friend. And right now... Well, if you're Eddie, how are you going to deal with Stark? He's asking for gold, please. Will he get it?
I find it interesting. I don't know if you see where Eddie has his eagles now, but Stark actually had a villager there, and he built a gate to block Viper from running away.
Yes.
It's just, like, not even important, really, because the eagles could chase him down, but he just did it anyway. He's like, hey, Viper, deal with this. Let's see how it goes. Very funny, but to be honest, the eagles at this point, they really pack a punch. 20k score for Eddie, 52k for Viper, but the diplomacy is really looking to be something that Viper cannot face up against right now, and he needs a response, and that response has to be water. I just don't think he has the resources. That response has to be
maybe getting an alliance with Eddie or something like that. I don't know, but I bet he wishes he had his friend Doubt here, not able to take on these two terrors alone. I think that a lot of people were perhaps discounting Eddie as, even though he didn't really have that much of a presence up until recently, he's another player. That's population, and that's population that Stark has really been taking advantage of. Eddie kind of been carrying this situation, and even though the Viper is taking them out, I don't see what his long plan is.
Okay, now I believe Viper sees this. Also, interesting note, Viper has been collecting relics. He's just now collecting the ones that Doubt dropped, which is really late, but he's just gotten a second. Viper does see a siege workshop from Stark where he built that tower at the right of his base on the wood line, and 3 stables. So there could be a significant push at Viper's base shortly. I'm not sure if Viper will be able to stop a push with that amount of eagles and maybe some siege onagers. Also, I'm kind of waiting for Stark to like use all of his resources. Just look at those resources he has, Rez.
I never thought I'd see the day where trade cogs win the game, but they might just, and especially in a situation like this where the trade cog line is so messy. Eddie just chasing the Viper around, these elite Eagle Warriors. You're talking about the Mayans not being that great in the super late game on these free-for-all games, but against the Mongols, actually, this is not bad. This is actually kind of one of the ideal units to use. Very resistant to that elite Mangudai fire. And the game, turning around, the Viper does have those relics now, which are huge, but it might be too little too late.
Viper's kind of trapped with the Mangudai. I mean, obviously he can run, but there might be a little bit of a pinch from Eddie just to get some good shots. If Viper goes to the left, he'll run into a Navy. If he runs to the right, he hits that one group of Eagles. So some Mangudai could go down. Eddie getting a couple hits. The Mangudai are just too darn fast. I'd really like to see maybe some walls just to try and close Viper in a little bit.
That would be kind of nice. They just need to bleed him out. The Viper just will not die.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much damage these keeps are doing in the late game. This game, we've seen everything that you think would not normally work really pay off. Late game keeps doing a lot of damage. Mayans late game in a free-for-all doing oh so much damage. Trade cogs carrying this game. And well, Viper pretty poor on resources. He really can only afford to produce Hussars. He actually has almost nothing in the bank. And he's about to be bled dry. I think this is going to be maybe the last stand. And if this is his last stand and you're Eddie, what's your plan after this?
Yeah, I don't know. It almost seems like Stark, it's like this is an abusive relationship, okay, between Eddie and Stark, because Stark is sending resources to Eddie to do all the work. Stark isn't really doing that much except banking resources. And I don't know if Eddie realizes this, because Stark has so many resources. He could help out. A couple SO shots would clean Viper's Mangudai out, and then the Eagles would do work. But no, Stark is allowing Eddie to just exhaust himself, and he doesn't really care. So Eddie maybe should think about doing something different. Of course, he knows Viper is the Viper, so he probably wants to kill him. But I just find it a little bit concerning that Stark is doing nothing to help him on land at the moment.
What a crazy way for this game to end. I feel like Eddie almost is okay with the idea of Stark winning, as Eddie got revenge on all the players that bullied him in the early game. Eddie is back. He's having his revenge, and perhaps he chalks it up as a win in its own right, even if Stark ends up closing this out. But we'll have to see, though. The game is not over yet. Eddie losing quite a few Eagle Warriors, and perhaps he is actually going to need the assistance of Stark on the land to close out this game. Maybe he can convince Stark to delete some of his navy, start building some land units, and then maybe that will give him the window of opportunity he needs.
I mean, that's 104 military from Viper. 104. I mean, this guy will not give up at all. And if he pushes forward here, he can get a wood line. That's all he wants is a wood line. And, you know, he's fared long enough where maybe, just maybe, he can make an attempt to get back on the water. But with Stark doing nothing, Viper has a chance. Stark is basically waiting for Viper to use all of his resources. That's his game plan. He is the ultimate turtle.
And that's basically happened as the Viper, I mean, good lord, his economy is weak. He only has 14 lumberjacks, almost nothing in the bank. His only saving grace is, I believe, the Mongols get crop rotation. He, at least in the later stages,
no, I don't think they do.
His farms are very strong.
Yeah.
Well, he uses heavy plow farms. So.
Yeah, I mean, this fight for Viper, though he's clearing out some of the navy, it's bad for him. And now the Eagles come in from Eddie. Oh, this could be huge. The traps are actually running the wrong way, in my opinion. The Navy could go in.
Stark,
Oh man, actually,
Stark with a couple fish traps.
yeah, they've been down there actually for quite a while.
OP.
That's a
Well, here comes the army. He's going to go for the treads, like you said, which have just been kind of left unprotected. And with the Viper losing this army,
boy.
that's probably it. Well, wait, the Eagles aren't really...
I know, it's weird. But still, Viper's in an
HD
awful
stuff.
position. I mean, those turtle ships, the galleons, Viper sending in hussars, but look at his population drop to below 140 as he runs away, losing all the trebs and a ton of Mangadai.
And Stark says, like a rat in a trap. Stark has been thinking about this game from the get-go, twiddling his
man.
thumbs.
Okay,
He knows.
so I have to
He knows what he
say,
needs to do.
I posted this on ASC Zone. Players had to sign up. Stark DM'd me. He said, hey, I really want to play, just so you know. I have to make sure I get off work early. And I was like, well, you have to sign up, you know? And he ended up signing up. And he actually said, I really think I can win with these settings. Well, here you go. Here you go. I mean, this was his plan. Okay? And he's definitely right. He's done a good job here. And Eddie's saying, should we trade better? Eddie, you have
What
to
a
be
god.
thinking about... Well, the struggle for Eddie is if he kills Stark, he might not be able to beat Viper. But I think Eddie needs to be thinking about what Stark's endgame is.
This is why making friends in a free-for-all game is so very important. Being Eddie's ally, this game has been very decisive for Stark, and perhaps the Viper wishes that he still had his teammates around to help him out. What a nuts game at this point. I feel like, you know, reestablishing the trade line won't really help them that much, considering they will have to fight each other soon. And I feel like if Eddie ends up flipping on the Viper, like flipping on Stark and just kind of killing Stark, that he won't be able to kill the Viper either, so... Eddie's in kind of interesting situation, and considering that he's the Mayans, it's going to be very difficult for him to pull out some crazy stuff. But I will still keep my eyes peeled just in case he has a plan.
I'm watching constantly for docks for Viper. The only place I can see him docking quickly is the right corner, and he'd have to run past the buildings of Red and also the Navy of Stark. So, I mean, that's almost impossible in my opinion. But he's probably going to attack that area now. He's not giving up, guys. He does have 3 relics.
Both sides basically have a somewhat similar flow of infinite resources, slightly favoring... So, the Viper has less gold income than his opponents do. He does have some relics, but it's really not quite enough. His opponents have more gold income, but the Viper has the wood income. And right now, that's what they're really trying to pressure, are all these remaining forests. It's something that the other guys don't really have access to. I mean, they do now that Eddie has control of the right side of the island. So... This game could go on for a while, but with the Viper losing his monastery, which is out in the middle of the map, I think he will just inevitably get bled dry here, and then we're on to Stark versus Eddie.
Yeah, we've continued to say that, and the crazy thing is he's not losing his Mangadai. He has a lethal amount of Mangadai, so Eddie is continuing to raid Viper, but it's not accomplishing too much. So I feel like if it's only Eddie, this might take a while longer.
I think Eddie really needs to consider that what happens if the Viper dies? Does he have a higher chance of winning if he is allied with Stark or the Viper? And the Viper has done a remarkably good job defending himself here. The Viper will snag his next relic. Like you said, he's done a very good job also keeping his own Mangadai alive, and even though you think he would have died a long time ago, he's still in this game.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you saw the chat, but I'll page up for everybody there. Eddie says, you need to come to land too. Stark says, I have a fear of him killing me. So, basically, BS. He doesn't want to help. He doesn't want to waste resources. He likes his trade, and he doesn't want to waste any of that gold, because right now he's at 4K. And he's pop-capped with mainly ships. I mean, it is smart to keep the water control, that's for sure. Viper probably recognizes, and let's be honest, he's the Viper, so he does recognize that Stark is not helping Eddie on land. So he probably thinks he has a chance, and Eddie is all alone.
Yeah, and they are spending a lot of resources on this attack. The Viper's population is dropping, but his army of elite Mangadai is still hanging around. I think he's making the right call, prioritizing grabbing his relic back. He's going to need every last penny that he can get if he wants to squeeze out this win. And Stark with such a colossal navy, it's going to be very difficult for the Viper to win, but it's also going to be very difficult for these two to take him down. He's doing such a good job holding the line, but his pop is dropping.
Well, I'm struggling to see a way out for Viper. I'm struggling to see a way this game will end if Stark continues to sit on his ass. He's sending resources
God,
to
look
Eddie.
how rich Stark is.
But yeah, I mean, Stark has just walled and is holding to the water. He's gonna have to realize at some point, like, you gotta fight Viper.
I think that another decisive factor in this game is that notably, Eddie cannot afford to make that large of a military, so this alliance has been kind of detrimental to them the way they have it set up.
Yeah.
In some respect, because Stark has a huge navy, but he's not making any land units, and Eddie is poor as hell, so he has such a large economy that he can really only afford to have like 50-ish military units at a time. So even though the Viper has like no military at all, and he's a really small economy, he's able to somehow miraculously hold the line. The Viper has secured his own wood line. He's pushing back Eddie with absolutely no resources stockpiled, and Eddie, once again, not really able to make too much of a foothold.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry right now, isn't it? Eddie can't do it alone because Magadai are so strong with the Hussar meat shield, and Stark is just sitting back relaxing, probably browsing Reddit like you said, or watching a movie or something at this point because it's been long enough. And Stark's gonna have to figure this out at some point. Stark could easily delete half of his navy and come help out, I think, because he basically needs to stop Viper from getting on water. He has a massive navy, but his buildings on land, they're not doing anything. They're not producing anything. He's just slinging Eddie. And he actually slung him a decent amount there, 2,000 gold. But,
it's a consolation prize, just trying to reaffirm their alliance. You know, he's handing the $2,000 to Eddie in one hand with a knife behind his back in the other. We'll have to see when that actually happens. Right about now, the Viper running out of steam yet again. Eddie raiding that wood line. That's all he needs to do.
You know what? If Stark wants to play like this, he should get like 2 SOs that he has in the Siege Workshop. Cut all the wood. Just cut it all. Just cut it. Cut all the wood close to Viper and see how he reacts. Like,
oh yeah,
they're not really collecting a lot of the wood. Just leave some for Eddie and just cut the wood. But finally, he's sending some SO. He's freed up some pop space, but you can see Viper running in there right away.
Yeah, and Stark's been throwing a couple of Hussars, which really aren't doing anything. But again, it's just all about appearing like you're a good ally.
Yeah.
Putting in just enough effort, so that way Eddie can't be like, "What are you doing, man? You trying to throw the game?" And I think that Stark's been doing a very good job of spending just barely enough money. And Eddie is in a very strong position. However, until he ends up making some sort of navy to take out Stark's king, I don't think he can win, but I'm assuming that that's on his mind. It's going to be very difficult for him to take down that castle, which is fortified around these keeps, bombard towers in the corner of the map. On the flip side, though, it's going to be hard for Stark to escape.
Yeah,
So,
Stark's starting to push in a little bit more with walls. Is like he moves very slow. He makes his decisions after thinking about them for like a half hour, and now he's gonna push in a little bit more. Like you said with those keeps, this isn't a game-winning move.
That it is not. These guys just playing so very slowly. We're at the stalemate of a century here. And, well, Stark gonna lose his navy in that one tiny lake.
And his
Stark just needs to
SOs,
basically
too.
commit more.
Yeah, and he's losing his siege onagers too. I mean, he has all the gold in the world. He can't use it because he doesn't mass his units. This is really killing me. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolute disaster. The navy is too damn big. He needs to delete some of his ships, send some help for poor Eddie, as Eddie can't do it alone. And, well, Eddie mixing in a couple elite skirmishers to try and deal with those Mangadai. I think it speaks volume of how well the Viper is defending himself. He's holding the line 2 versus 1 with almost no resources left and almost no space to play. They just can't kill him, and Stark's gonna have to, well, get out of his evil lair and start spending some money.
Well, Eddie right now has 126 fills and a ton of food. I don't know if he necessarily needs that. I would really like to see some Arbalest, like just a few Arbalest and skirmishers behind. That way he could deal with the units a little bit better. Get some ranged units, because obviously he's losing military. Eddie says I test him for mental attack. Viper want to team up on board. Okay.
What? What the
Okay.
Test him for mental attack?
Oh my, OMG, stop that. Viper changed him to ally. Okay. And now he's calling him a betrayer. What is happening? Now, I want this to happen. I want this to happen. But Eddie's not prepared for it.
That is a weird play. This is something that we don't often see in competitive Age of Empires do. Don't worry, Alex, I've been reading the chat, but we'll have to see what this development shapes up to be first, as the Viper is wondering how long he has to sit in this game, or if he can just call it.
Well,
ultimately, though, yeah?
Eddie says he was happy for a second. Eddie's not truly going to ally Viper, I don't think, because he still has him as enemy. Viper... Stark says this feels so good. He's playing the best player in the world, but I wonder what Viper's response will be. So many Hussars.
And Eddie weighing his options right now. I don't think he's actually going to commit to this alliance, but honestly, he has to, like... Poor Viper says, "What the fuck, Eddie? I thought we were friends. We went so back. We went to school together."
Exactly, yeah. After all we've been through, as he said to Doubt. And now he's changing to enemy.
Do this to me? Everybody betrayed me. I fed off with this world, says the Viper.
Even though this game hasn't progressed in a while, this is actually pretty funny. Still, Stark needs to make a move. He actually has sent a lot of gold to Eddie, and he now has a decent amount of skirmishers and a lot of eagles. So Viper, oh, we could see an attack round on the Hussars. Nope. Gonna say
maybe, but not quite.
Yeah, Viper's doing the right thing. He just sends in a few in spread formation. That's why I think we need ranged units.
This game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there have been so many great quotes this game. If you guys have been keeping track of that, I think that I don't really see how the Viper can win this. I know that he's been asking how long we expect him to stay into the game. How long do we expect him to stay in the game?
I mean, the Mangadai. If he loses the Mangadai, it's over for him. And also, the control of the wood, which is pretty much all where the siege onagers are, and to the right a little bit more. So I think we're getting closer. I don't know why Stark doesn't just cut the wood, but it looks like Hussars are coming in to raid it, so Viper, recognizing it's close, I think. I think he knows it's close at the end. He's at 140 population res, so that's not a lot.
Yes. Yeah, I think that he is only a few minutes away from death.
Next season.
I think that this would have ended a long time ago for the Viper if Stark was willing to commit just a few extra ships. By deleting them and actually sending in some land units, I feel like he has just been kind of sitting on his thumbs here. But that will be the winning approach this game. I just think he could be winning anyway if he freed up a couple of Hawk and just went in for the kill.
Yeah. With what Viper has, with the situation he is now in, he's doing quite a good job. But that's not what Diplo is really about. It's about putting yourself in a good position not to be in a bad position, if that makes any sense.
Right.
And Viper, I mean, his whole Doubt alliance, he should have kept till the end, if possible. And obviously Doubt may have turned on him as well, but that did not happen. Viper turned, and they just fought it out. And now it's been a 1v2.
They really needed each other.
Yeah.
They really needed each other to take on this water alliance. I cannot believe how potent it has been. They just can't get a foothold on the water, and until they can, well, Stark's just gonna attrition them with trade cogs.
Pretty much, but if you think about it, had they not gone to the outer edge, they would have died a long time ago. The game would have been over. So, you know, say what you want about this being boring or whatever, but $130 on the line, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and this is it. I mean, trading, and this is actually a smart play. And had the other players recognized that they were that dominant on the mainland, maybe they would have tried to stop that, you know? But they didn't.
Yep, and as a result, this game's still going on as the Viper's sustaining quite a few losses. Eddie constantly asking for gold, please. And he has just barely enough money in the bank to continue this war. But these players have to be thinking ahead. The final confrontation. The Viper will not be able to close this one out. So, if you're these guys, if you're these two friends, about time to start thinking of a game plan. I mean, I guess, okay, so if this game was going to go on for like 6 or 7 hours, then one thing that we consider is that Eddie has more presence on the mainland than Stark does, significantly more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If he can seize the mainland, then maybe he can actually beat out Stark, but he's going to have to somehow do what the Viper was not able to do and build some docks, build a navy, and maybe that will be possible in a non-2v1 situation.
Yep, that's a very good point. I think it should be in the back of Eddie's mind that Stark is going to have to kill him once they kill Viper. Both players' minds, obviously. I can't believe they haven't gone for this woodline that Viper's on. Viper is only making Hussars right now, not a lot of Mangadai. But I just want to know what they will do. Because Stark has a significant navy, and I don't think we can see a king snipe over at Stark's base, especially with the towers there. So Eddie is going to be up against it, I think.
Yeah, one of the real problems here is that Eddie actually has his king on his own island, which will make it quite difficult for him to actually stage a comeback here versus Stark. It'll be very difficult for that king to escape, and I think that's one of the things that Stark is probably banking on, is that Eddie's king's trapped on that island. There's a colossal navy. That king's probably not going anywhere. Yeah, he could hide it in the corner, but then we'll just see treason researched, and that king will just be taken out.
Well, actually, so does Stark. However, Stark has had siege onagers there, and bombard tower, and keeps, so he really took it the extra mile in every way to defend and win this game. His is on the right island. He has a couple islands, so his is in that castle there.
Should we give permission for the Viper to resign? Apparently he's been requesting that.
Oh, he did? To who?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can resign.
Us?
Did he?
Oh, okay.
Oh, if he's been messaging me...
Yeah, he's been requesting in the Twitch... I think, yeah, just people in the Twitch chat have been saying he's been asking for it.
Oh, well, yeah, he can resign, of course. I mean, he shouldn't have to ask permission. If he doesn't think he has a chance, he can resign. That's of course fine. I believe he was streaming his point of view, so he's probably voicing that to some individuals who are now saying it to us. But yeah, that's completely fine. And if that's going to be the case in probably 2 minutes for us, because there's a little bit of a delay, we should probably brace ourselves for what we will see between Eddie and Stark.
Indeed, indeed, as those two titans will have to fight each other. And the real question is, can Eddie muster something in a situation like this? The answer is maybe, but it's going to take something really clever. Both of these kings are trapped, but...
Yeah, he doesn't have the technologies he needs, but he actually has more resources than Stark. He has more wood, more food, more gold, and he could control the mainland. Now, I don't know how long this is going to go on, because the kings are on those islands, but we could see Eddie do it with those extra resources. You never know, but I think that Stark just has fortified this island so perfectly. It's going to be really rough for that king to be sniped.
Well, Viper backing up his army. Looks like he is ready to take a well-deserved nap, as he's played this game very well, but alas, it is going to be almost impossible for him to claw his way back. So now, the Viper's going to drop some relics.
Oh, he's killing his army.
His own guys, nice.
Merry Christmas. Putting on a show for us here. Yeah, exactly. Hey, he's just going to boost his KD. That's what's going to happen here. I mean, it's all about the stats, right? Well done, Viper.
Look at these sick onager shots from
exactly.
the Viper.
Oh,
Boy,
man, the attack rounds.
Oh, my God.
Holy. Anyway, the king is remaining, so his aim isn't too good, but that king will be going down next, I assume, and the monk will actually go first. But
ooh,
come on, Viper, just finish him.
Oh, he's teasing us. He's edging us right now.
Exactly.
There he goes.
Merry Christmas. Okay, there needs to be a response from the other two. Eddie says simple. This is not the first time we've seen two last until the very end, and the last time I saw that, Eddie says, now I'm dead.
Eddie's like, now I'm dead for good.
I was going to say the last
Eddie
time I saw
have...
that, they had an agreement to sink their kings in the water. I don't think that kings are going to be sunk in the water. Eddie...
Are they going to do it and split the prize pool 50-50?
I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not sending the prize pool half and half to people because this is last man standing. And Navy's coming over, and
They're still allies, by the way, so they're
yeah,
thinking about it.
this Stark knows.
They're just wondering if they can leave the game running, come back tomorrow,
Yeah,
still
I mean,
be friends.
hey, they'll have a lot of gold. Not more than they have now. Ooh, hold on a second. Did Eddie run?
What do you mean?
Did
Where?
Eddie's king? Did it run somewhere?
It did.
Where did that guy go?
Oh, but he's got to be careful though because
Oh, it's
just
dead.
treason. It's dead.
Oh, that what?
Where?
Okay. So if you look at, it should be pretty obvious. If you look at Stark's navy, it's directly below the island of Eddie. If you just keep looking down, follow the trade, you can see Stark sunk it. He was
I see the
actually,
dead ship.
it was
Yeah.
actually really hard to follow because he was following the trade cogs, and that was really smart. But he didn't have a chance.
Nice. That would have been so cool, pretending to be a trade cog, cosplaying as one, which is what I'll be doing next year for Halloween.
So will Eddie, apparently. Yeah, what a game, man. What a game. I mean, I honestly, just thinking back on that one, it was just, there's so many funny and interesting points in that one. I mean, players being teamed up upon from the very beginning, players not knowing what the map was, and then like Doubt and Viper's conversation leading into Viper being on his own, and Stark and Eddie recognizing that maybe they could have a safe haven on these small islands.
What a great game that was. A long one, but a satisfying one with so many different mind games, twists, and turns. And in the end, Stark, the player that came out on top, because even though in the early game, he didn't really have that much gold and he didn't have that much presence, but he had been planning this meticulously for the entire time, and it paid off. So GG, well played. Excellent game from all players.
Yeah, it was great, and I'm really happy we had such a turnout. We had so many top players play. It's not often that you see a player at 58,000 score, 13,000 above, lose the game, and it's not often that player is the Viper either. So exciting settings. Viper had the most kills at 2,400 kills, 1,600 units lost, and you can see the rest of the statistics there. Poor Box, can we just remember him? 11 units killed and 52 units lost. I mean, I feel bad because he came to really play, and he was probably in the worst position possible. Trade profit is really important, and Stark and Eddie had it, and I think that's what really changed things. If you look at the total gold income, they were above Viper, and Viper of course had more wood, but he was eventually starved 2v1, and whew, that was a marathon. What a game, Rez.
That it was. Yeah, thank you so much for having me join you today for this cocast. It was a lot of fun. This was a great game. It was a long one, but a great one, and I hope that you guys all enjoyed watching it as well. Feel free to leave us your feedback. I look forward to reading all the comments and just seeing what the future holds. So yeah, have a wonderful holiday season, everybody. Thank you for having me again, T90. I'll talk to you soon, and yeah, GG, well played.
Yeah, Rez, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by today.
Yep, happy holidays.
See ya. Yeah, Merry Christmas.